Mike Capel is walking home from his restaurant job.
It was my normal walk home, pretty much just minding my own business when I heard people yelling.
He sees a car go by, he's kind of swerving, and he doesn't know what to make of it.
And so I just kept on walking. Then I heard people screaming.
You can't dodge! Sheridan!
They're trying to revive what appears to be body.
Don't die, Sheridan, don't die, man.
I remember seeing him lying there on the side of the street in the grass.
Hey, call 911! Help us! Call 911, man! Call 911! Call the cops, he bleeding!
They were pretty hysterical.
We don't know what happened, man! Call the cops! He bleeding! He bleeding!
I was like, what am I get myself into?
Sheridan! Say something, man! Don't die, Sheriff! Don't die, man!
Not far away, Lt.Joe Kenda is making a pit stop before heading home from a long shift.
It's 2:05 in the morning, and I've run out of cigarettes, and at that time, when I smoked, I no longer do, but when I smoked then, that was not acceptable. So I stopped at the neighborhood convenience store to buy a pack of cigarettes.
Hey, James.
Hey, how you doing, Joe?
Good. Current cigarettes, please.
Same as usual?
You know me.
I buy my cigarettes,
Hey, be safe out there.
Thanks. Have a good night.
All right.
and I'm walking out the door, and my pager goes off.
Go for Kenda.
You're requested at 3600 Betty Drive. Reports of a possible shooting and casualty.
10-4, I'm on the way. Kenda out.
I thought, at least I now have cigarettes, so this will be all right.
How you doing, Lieutenant?
Hey, Brian. So what do we got?
Got a 19-year-old male.
When I get there, Detective Ritz tells me that there's a 19-year-old male, and he is dead from a gunshot wound to the chest.
The victim was Sheridan Pittman, recent graduate of Doherty High School, getting ready to go off to a junior college in Arizona. Outstanding athlete. And very, very well liked. Everybody said he was really funny, really engaging.
Died on his way to the hospital.
Any witnesses?
There were two guys when we got here, Nick and Andre Collins, the brothers, friends of the victim, and they say that they found him here.
Okay, Keith, I want to see the crime scene first. Where'd they find the body?
Found the body right up here, and about 80 yards that way are a ton of spent casings.
The shell casings at the scene turned out to belong to two different types of weapons. One was a 9mm and one was a .40 caliber. So that was a good indication to investigators that we had at least two shooters at the scene.
And they were just firing wildly. I mean, we got damage all over here.
There was bullet holes in cars and fences. And the fact that there are a lot of shell casings could indicate that they use what's called spray and pray pattern. Just shoot as hard and as fast as you can and hope you kill somebody.
Shooting like this, in the dark at 80 yards, if you were Annie Oakley, you couldn't make that shot directly. We have 19 bullets that go down this street at 1,200 feet per second, like a nest of angry bees, and only one strikes Sheridan Pittman. As it turns out, one was enough.
We also found that 22 was lying next to the body.
We open the cylinder, it has 6 rounds in it.
It's fully loaded.
And all 6 are live ammunition. So this weapon was not fired.
Someone's firing at you, you pull out your gun, but you don't fire? Why not?
Now let's get a GSR test on the victim at the hospital. And also on the two guys that found the body.
Will do.
Maybe another gun was fired here.
A GSR gunshot residue test will tell us whether or not somebody has been firing a weapon.
Let me know the results of all three when you get them.
Will do.
What's up?
Been searching the victim's friend's car and I found something interesting.
Let's take a look.
We look in the Collins brothers' car, and on the floorboard of the car, on the passenger side, is a single expended .22 long rifle casing.
Just the one?
Just the one.
Well, it's the same caliber and brand of the rounds found in the weapon by the body.
We don't know what it's doing there. Did it play a role in this, or was it from some prior event?
Can you do me a favor and call back to the station and run these guys' names? Something doesn't feel right.
Yes, sir.
Even though they stayed and were obviously concerned about the victim, could the friends have been involved in the altercation? Could it have been started because of something they had done?
I'm gonna go talk to the brothers.
First one we speak to is Andre Collins. He is the same age as the victim. He just graduated from Doherty High School.
It just doesn't make sense. Sheridan had big plans. He was gonna play pro football.
He is distressed about the death of his friend, but other than that, he's very cooperative and extremely polite.
I just can't believe this happened.
So what did happen here, Andre?
I don't know. I wasn't here. Nick called me. He called me to pick him up to go look for Sheridan.
He said, I got a frantic phone call from my brother saying that some guys shot at them.
Andre, you gotta come now, man.
And now he can't find Sheridan.
I don't know what happened to Sheridan. I lost him.
Now that statement alone says that Nick is there. Why wasn't Nick forthcoming with that information when the officers arrived? He didn't mention anything about being shot at by anybody. That bothers me.
Excuse me, can I borrow you for a second? So we did a records check on both the brothers and the victim. Nobody has a criminal record. Okay. We also got the gunshot residue result tests back on all three. They're all clean.
All right, let's get the brother Nick back to the station. I'm thinking he's got to know something since he was with the victim about the time he got shot. All right.
But just as Kenda is about to leave the crime scene,
Sorry, Lieutenant.
What's up?
I thought you'd want to know. We may have found the witness.
Oh, yeah, what'd they say?
Well, they didn't see much because it was dark. But they lived nearby and said they were outside when they heard the gunfire.
He said, as soon as the gunfire ended, the witness distinctly heard a woman's voice say,
That'll teach him.
that will teach them.
Interesting.
You know what's more interesting? Patrol just picked up a woman lurking around the outside of the crime scene.
Where is she?
She's over in a cruiser.
No, talk to me.
So now we have a new person, and it's a female. We know we have two shooters. What if one of them's a girl? And what if that girl is sitting in the back of that police car? I don't know. But I like that possibility. We're investigating the shooting death of Sheridan Pittman, a gifted athlete with no criminal history, found shot to death in a street. We have a witness saying a woman's voice is heard saying that'll teach them, and now we have a woman in our possession who's been lurking around this crime scene. She's identified to me as Nina Darren. She might be part of this.
Kenda is informed that Nina's aware of Sheridan's death.
Nina, I'm Lieutenant Kenda.
Great. Do you mind telling me why the hell you people are keeping me here?
She's uncooperative and angry.
I mean, this is a load of crap. I ain't got time for this.
Well, Nina, you better make a little time.
People believe if I yell at these guys, they'll let me go. Wrong. Nobody's gonna let you go. You're considered to be a material witness in a homicide investigation, young lady.
What are you doing out here in the middle of the night?
I was coming to meet my boyfriend, Sheridan.
Kenda is taken aback by Nina's matter-of-fact demeanor.
Grief has many faces, many expressions, but that struck me as somewhat odd.
Kenda wonders if Nina could be involved in Sheridan's murder.
Well, did you always like Sheridan? Maybe you didn't like him tonight. She announces that he was supposed to see her that night. He didn't show up. She was annoyed by that. And there is a rumor that Sheridan had been shot on Betty Drive, and she came over there to see for herself.
How's your relationship with Sheridan been lately?
We're fine.
No issues?
No issues.
Well, that's all well and good, but you got to understand that I am very thorough. So you need to tell me where you were when this shooting happened.
I was babysitting my sister's kid. I'll give you the number if you don't believe me. You can talk to my family.
Can you get that?
Yes, sir.
So we do that, and it does check out. She was where she said she was. She is not the female voice that was heard by this witness. She's not the shooter.
Yes, sir, it all checks out.
Go ahead and make sure she gets home.
Yes, sir.
With Nina Darren cleared, Kenda turns his attention to the young man who was with Sheridan at the time of the shooting.
I just want to say I go talk to him.
Nick Collins is back at headquarters waiting to be interviewed. To our knowledge, he is the only eyewitness to this event. He has to know something of value about how and why this got started and ended in the way that it did.
Seated in the bullpen, it's clear to Kenda Nick Collins is still in shock over his friend's death.
I'm real sorry about this, Nick, but we have to ask you a few questions. What happened with you and your buddy Sheridan?
All right. So, we were walking. Him and I want to see his girl, Nina. She lives out there.
Oh, man, what's up with Nina, bro, man?
She's trying to marry me.
What?
Yeah.
You lying?
Nick reports that the car drives by and then drives some distance down from them, and the car stops, and they hear two doors open and close. It's very dark, and so he has no idea how many people are in this car.
And then all of a sudden, start shooting at us.
You run!
I took off running. I'm out of there. And I thought Sheridan was right behind me. Guess he wasn't.
And he runs until he gets to a payphone.
You gotta come now. I'm at the mini mart.
And he calls his brother. Maybe together they can find Sheridan.
And why were these guys shooting at you?
I don't know, man.
Come on, these guys just randomly pull up and just start shooting at you for no reason?
The odds are that Nick is holding back. There has to be more to this that you're not telling us.
Don't know, man. I'm telling you, I don't know why they started shooting. Promise.
Take it easy. Is there anything you can tell me to help find these guys?
I saw the car when it drove by. I don't know what kind it was, but I think it was a sedan.
He said it was a light-colored car, but it had the right rear taillight burned out.
This is helpful to us. It gives us at least something to be looking for. So we're airing the information out to all units, working the streets to see if we can get a hit.
Okay, Nick, I'm gonna have somebody drive you home. But if you think of anything else, make sure you let us know.
I get it.
Nick's not going anyplace. We can always come back to him later, and we most likely will. But for now, thank you for your cooperation.
After wrapping up with Nick Collins, Kenda and Detective Ritz brace for the unenviable task of informing Sheridan's mother and his little brother that he has been killed.
You ready for this?
I can't imagine that for the police, that's ever a pleasant job. And in this particular situation, it's just so mind-bending.
Mrs. Williams? Do you mind if we come in for a minute?
Of course, Detective.
Deborah Pittman Williams was a lovely, statuesque, professional woman. She tried to make the best decisions she could, ironically, including moving to Colorado Springs because she was worried about violence. Now, all she could do was deal with what life had handed her, which was changing from packing his college clothes to picking out his casket.
I've been hearing rumors about Sheridan. Please tell me they're not true.
Ma'am, I'm afraid they are. He was shot and killed last night. I'm very sorry for your loss.
But he's supposed to go away to college in 2 weeks. We just fall on close.
I'm sure you're very proud of him. We were just recently talking to his girlfriend, Nina.
Who?
His girlfriend, Nina.
She looked at us and said, I don't know a Nina. He was dating some other girl.
I think his girlfriend's name is Sally. But you may want to talk to Cedric about that. He would know more.
Oh, I certainly do. He may have a number of girlfriends that Mom doesn't know about. But his little brother might.
Cedric, why don't we give your mother some time? Let's go talk in the kitchen.
That stuff happens with teenage boys. They're gonna talk all kinds of trash about their dating lives to their little brothers.
Cedric, can you tell me about your brother's girlfriend?
Which one?
Cedric goes on to explain that Sheridan had a lot of girlfriends. Not a few, a lot. He was dating 2 at that moment that he was aware of. Nina and another girl named Sally Miller.
Sheridan! Hey, Sheridan! Man, it's another one of your girls calling.
Man, you can't say one of my girls trying to get me caught. Watch and learn. Watch and learn. Hey, baby. I'm gonna mind my little brother. What you doing?
We now have the fact that he's dating 2 girls. There could be a motive there.
Those emotions really drive people to crimes of passion, and a lot of times very quickly.
He told them both that he loved them. He also told them that they were his only girl.
That really piques my interest.
Girl, you crazy. Yeah, I miss you too.
Now, what if Sally Miller finds out about Nina? And what if Sally Miller is that voice that says that'll teach him a lesson? Maybe the lesson she wants to teach is don't cheat on me. So we're investigating Sheridan Pittman's untimely death. We learn he has more than one girlfriend at the same time, and it's common for him to do that. Now, that is a recipe for disaster.
With jealousy looking increasingly like a possible motive, Kenda pays a visit to Sheridan's 17-year-old girlfriend, Sally Miller.
Thank you for allowing me to talk to your daughter, Mrs. Miller.
Because she's under the age of 18, we need her parents present during these interviews.
Sally, do you know anything about what happened to Sheridan?
Well, I mean, I know he died, but that's about it, though.
I thought that was an unusual remark. You would think she would have called everyone she's ever known in her life to talk about this.
Suspicious of Sally's seemingly casual reaction, Kenda decides to cut to the chase.
So how do you feel about Nina Darren, Sheridan's other girlfriend?
I wanted to see what kind of reaction I would get from her in her face and in her eyes.
What? What are you talking about? No, I was his girlfriend.
It was the typical teenage response. She was almost ready to cry, like, how could that be true? When he obviously dates the loveliest, smartest, best-looking female on the planet, which is me.
So you didn't know about Nina?
Nina, who's she? What's he talking about?
I don't know.
She really was shocked. And that's what I wanted to see. The jealousy motivation just blew up in smoke. And it's abundantly clear to us that Sally Miller's not involved in this.
Thank you for your time. I'm sorry about your boyfriend. You hear anything else, give me a call.
And that was the end of it. So now with this young lady Miller out the door, we're back to sip.
Kenda heads back to the station to regroup with Detective Ritz.
This whole investigation has been focused on one witness who insists that the woman's voice was heard, saying that will teach them. And we've pursued that, and it's led us absolutely nowhere. This witness, in my opinion, is dead wrong. Not intentionally, but we've exhausted that, and it's time to move on.
We need to attack this from a different angle. Or start pulling reports of anything else that happened that night that might be connected to Sheridan's death.
Will do.
At this juncture of this investigation, the frustration level is off the charts. The only thing we have is a dead kid and a car with a right rear taillight burned out.
Later that day, Kenda's new approach delivers a promising new lead.
So I'm going through the incident reports from the night Pittman gets shot.
Yeah?
2 or 3 hours before he dies, he's involved in a completely separate shooting.
Tell me more, please.
All right, so according to this, Antoine Mays goes to the hospital, gets treated for a gunshot wound. Mr. Mays is brought in by Nick Collins, Andre Collins, and Sheridan Pittman.
Interesting.
We've spent a lot of time with Nick and Andre Collins, and no one apparently thinks it's important to tell us about this shooting incident that involved Mr. Pittman. What's going on here?
It sounds like we need to have a little chat with Antoine Mays.
So we have some officers go out and pick him up and bring him into us.
Lieutenant, this is Antoine Mays.
Take a seat, Mr. Mays. Looks like you got a little bit of a limp there.
Yeah, well, the other...
So I'm not going to beat around the bush. I know you got shot. You tell me the truth, and we're done here. Was it Sheridan Pittman? Or his buddies, Nick and Andre? Then you shot them back for revenge?
Nah, man, it was nothing like that.
So you're sitting there thinking about this, and you see the wheels turning.
I mean, as stupid as it sounds, I shot myself.
Tell me about it.
Well, we were all chilling over at this friend's house. It was me, Sheridan, and the Collins brothers. And this friend had a gun.
What's up with the game? You done? I told you, man. I'm the king right here in the spade.
You talking to me?
He's practicing slamming it into the waistband of his pants.
Talking to me?
Brilliant.
You talking to me? I'm not hard, huh?
No, man. Dude.
Happily, he only shot himself in the leg. Happily, he didn't hit anyone else.
You gotta cover that up, man.
Sheridan Pittman says, "Give me that gun. Give it to me before you kill yourself with it." And Pittman stuffs it in his pocket of his pants. Then they take him to St. Francis Hospital, and he's treated for a through-and-through gunshot wound.
With Antoine May's statement, Kenda finally has an explanation for the gun found near Sheridan's body.
Sheridan Pittman had it in his waistband at the time they were walking down the street.
He's doing a good deed, not a criminal act.
Kenda wonders if Antoine might also help shed light on another piece of evidence collected at the scene.
At the beginning stages of this case, we found a casing on the floorboard of Collins' car, and we wondered where that came from.
Man, give me the casing!
Mays tells Pittman he wants that expended casing because he wants it as a souvenir.
That's all you can think about is a casing, man. You just got shot.
And they're all looking at me like I'm crazy. But they open up the gun and handed it to me.
They put a fresh bullet in the chamber, and Pittman puts the gun back in his pocket.
Do you have that casing now?
Antoine explains that somewhere between shooting himself in the leg and the Collins brothers dropping him off at the hospital, he misplaced his souvenir casing.
No, he didn't lose it. He dropped it on the floor of the car, and we found it.
What I don't understand, Antoine, is why didn't you just tell us you shot yourself?
I mean, to be completely honest, we were scared. I mean, we didn't want to have any problems with you guys.
Being caught with a gun whether it's illegal or not, is something that people may not want to admit to law enforcement. They may have been protecting themselves. They may have thought they were protecting somebody else.
All right, you're free to go.
We've explained a number of things discovered at the crime scene, but one thing that isn't yet explained or found is the sedan with a burned out right rear taillight.
But Kenda knows that finding a nondescript sedan in a city of nearly 500,000 people is like searching for a needle in a haystack.
We're getting pressure from the Pittman family. The press is printing the usual headline, police are baffled. So the pressure is on. And we're not getting anywhere fast.
Thankfully, within hours of speaking with Antoine Mays, another possible lead rolls in.
We received a tip from a party by the name of Joanne Valdez.
Well, thank you for coming in, Mrs. Valdez. You have some information for me?
Yes, I do.
We get this piece of information that could be the golden ticket.
Joanne advises that her daughter's boyfriend has made statements that he knows who did the shooting.
Well, my. Now that is important. So at this point in this investigation, the death of Sheridan Pittman has reached all these dead ends. But we finally have something that has some meat to it. We have a concerned mother. She says she has information that comes through her daughter's boyfriend. Mrs. Valdez explains that on the day after the murder, she needs a ride to a doctor's office.
So my daughter's boyfriend, Chuck Juarez, that's his name, he's driving and we're listening to the radio. And we hear about this horrible murder of this young boy.
My homeboy shot that boy.
What?
Yeah, my homeboy shot that guy.
I didn't know if he was being serious or not, so I didn't want to take any chances.
The fact that we now have somebody who says they know who did the shooting is very interesting to us.
Checking police records, Kenda discovers that the young man in question, Jack Juarez, has an extensive criminal history.
And he is wanted on several active arrest warrants. Perfect.
We have an address for him. When I get there, I found out that he had just recently left the property. I start checking the area, and I find somebody who matches the physical description of the photo that I have.
Excuse me. Hey, aren't you Jack Juarez?
Nah, man. My name is Adam Jaramillo. Here,
I could swear you look a lot like him.
I got an ID to prove it.
He provides me a driver's license in the name of Adam Jaramillo.
The ID is obviously fake. Now, everybody in a neighborhood like this knows we're the man. We're obviously the heat.
That's me, man.
And it doesn't take long for another young man from the neighborhood to blow Jack's cover once and for all.
Hey, Jack. Hey, don't worry, man. We'll bond you out.
Sorry, Jack.
That's a very satisfying moment at the time. I know who I'm talking to, and I have a whole new charge to lay on top of him, criminal impersonation and possession of a forged document. I've got my hooks into him. Come on. Here we go.
At the police station, Kenda sits down with Jack Juarez, who is visibly panicked.
I'm bad. I'm a dead man.
Why would you say that?
You guys don't understand. You're gonna come after me and kill me.
Because he is now considered to be a snitch, a police informant. Now he thinks his life is over.
But you understand, if you help us out, we can help you out.
Okay.
So who are these guys you said shot Sheridan Pittman?
Saul and Manuel.
He only knows them by their first names, Saul and Manuel. That'll be fine for right now. He says on the night of the murder, they go to a strip club in the area of Bettery Drive. So he finds out the next day that Saul and Manuel got into some kind of a dispute inside the club with some other guys.
Hell no, dude. I want to shoot that son of a... Let's go back to the house, get the guns, we'll come back and we'll get them. They're not getting away with this.
Is it Pittman and the Collins boys that are in this bar? No, they're busy taking their friend Mays to St. Francis Hospital. There's no reason to believe that Sheridan knows these guys. We are likely dealing with a stranger upon stranger event, which are the worst kind.
Kenda now wonders if Manuel and Saul went out looking for the guys they clashed with at the strip club and ended up shooting at Sheridan and Nick Collins instead.
At the time of the shooting, we know our guys are out walking around, that they just happen to cross paths.
You know what caliber of the guns they carry?
9mm and a 40.
That's what was used. They have the right guns. His stock has just risen.
What else can you tell me about these guys?
A friend of ours owns an auto body shop.
Yeah?
He says Manuel and Saul had this light-colored car, but they really, really wanted to get it painted right away. And they asked this guy to do it. They got the right guns, they got a light-colored car, and they needed painted right away.
Why would they need it painted right away?
Now, why do they want it painted right away? To conceal it. To make it not look like the car that was used in this crime.
We're able to identify the owner, operator of the body shop, of Frank Lobato.
Now we are cooking. We know their first names, and we also know another guy that has recently had contact and done business with them, Mr. Lobato. We've got the first names, Saul and Manuel. We know they have the right guns, and we also know they're trying to conceal their involvement by painting the car a different color. These are going to be the dudes. So we go to Lobato's trim and detail shop, and we find Mr. Frank Lobato, the owner.
Mr. Lobato?
Hey.
I'm Lieutenant Kenda, Detective Ritz. We understand two guys named Saul and Manuel approached you recently about having their car painted.
Yeah, Sal Gutierrez and Manuel Gutan. They want it done right away. I figured it's none of my business.
Did you paint it?
No, not yet. We got tail lights and the bumper over here and the car is over there.
Mind if we take a look?
Go ahead.
So we walk over and look.
Is this the right one?
It is.
One of the things that everyone reported from the scene was the car involved had a broken taillight.
And the right taillight is broken.
Looks like we got our guys.
And so the vehicle matches the description.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lobato. I'd hold off on painting that car.
Okay.
Finally, they've got something.
After speaking with Frank Lobato, Kenda orders a background check on Saul Gutierrez and Manuel Gutan.
Got a couple career boys for you.
And discovers they both have lengthy rap sheets.
We find that both have an extensive criminal record to include crimes of violence, and both have some affiliation with gangs.
These are the guys. This is the car. They had the right guns. Time to arrest these people.
While Kenda waits for the warrants on the two men to be processed, he dispatches a surveillance team to monitor the house where Gutan and Gutierrez reside.
Dispatch to 411.
411, go ahead.
Please be advised the warrant is active.
10-4. It's a knock, we gotta go. You ready? Ready.
What do you want?
Saul Gutierrez, put your hands up right over here.
Step out here and put your hands up. Where's Manuel? Right here. Manuel Gatan, come on out. Put your hands up right here.
These guys have been arrested many times. And they, of course, immediately invoke their rights.
You have the right to remain silent.
Man, we ain't saying nothing.
You cannot afford an attorney. One will be appointed to you by the courts. Do you understand these rights I've just explained to you?
They're not going to respond to police questioning.
Yes or no?
I want a lawyer.
But even without a formal statement from either Saul or Manuel, Kenda believes he can get to the bottom of what happened. He reaches back out to the crime's sole eyewitness, Nick Collins.
Nick, you and I both know you haven't been truthful with me.
You say, you know, Nick, you're starting to annoy me. We've talked to you several times. You have not been truthful with us, and I know it, and so do you.
You owe it to Sheridan to tell the truth. He gave his life. Tell me what really happened.
All right, man.
He reacted emotionally to that statement. He said, all right, I'll tell you what really happened. Perfect.
Nick explains that he wasn't 100% truthful in his initial statement because he was scared he and Sheridan might get in trouble for being in possession of their pal Antoine May's handgun.
Like I told you before, Sheridan and I were just walking to his girlfriend's. His car rolled up on us. So, and we thought we knew him. But, what's up? And then before I knew it, the car stopped. It sounded like some dude was, like he was getting ready to shoot.
He hears what he believes to be somebody jacking the slide on a handgun.
There's a 22-pound recoil spring in most automatic pistols. It is a distinctive metal-on-metal sound. If you hear it once, you'll never forget what it is.
And what'd you do?
Started running. Yo, run! And I thought Sheridan knew what was going on, man. But he didn't.
I'm sorry about your friend.
Now that Kenda has Nick's full story, he believes he can piece together why Saul and Manuel may have targeted him and Sheridan.
Bro, what's up with Nina, man?
Nick and Sheridan are walking to see Nina, his girlfriend. At this same moment in time, Saul Gutierrez and Manuel Gaitan have left a strip club after a disturbance, went home, armed themselves with 2 handguns, and now they're driving around the area looking for these guys they had this problem with.
You know, bro, trying to marry the kid, Brian, man. No.
What's up?
They're looking them over to see if they're the guys.
What's up? What's up?
Now, Nick is not a criminal. What's up is a challenge in the gang world. If you say what's up and you hold your palms out openly, it is a direct challenge. I am challenging your presence on my turf.
Saul and Manuel, that means the fight is on.
They get out of the cars, rack their pistols. Sheridan Pittman, he doesn't know what an operating slide sounds like.
Run!
The next thing he hears are bullets. The bullet that hits him goes through both lungs, his heart, hits a rib, turns, and cuts his spinal cord. He is literally dead before he hits the ground.
At pre-trial hearings, both Saul and Manuel claim they fired at Nick and Sheridan purely out of self-defense. But as the writing on the wall becomes clear, Saul Gutierrez opts for a plea deal and receives a 10-year sentence for second-degree murder. Manuel Gatan decides to take his chances at trial, and this time, a jury of his peers accepts the self-defense claim.
Manuel Gaitan was found not guilty.
So we've got a dead kid, one guy who pled and served 10 years, and another guy who is free as a bird. This was one of the most frustrating and bizarre outcomes I've ever seen. I just don't think justice was served on any side.
At the end of the day, you have a star athlete with a promising career in front of him who never got to enjoy it. We have some degree of payment for it, but very little. And in one case, no payment whatsoever. So it's a frustration that is common with this business. Sometimes it works out very well to a satisfying conclusion, and sometimes it doesn't. This one's one of the dozens.
They still remember the headline that never came. Texas 2001 cold case solved. 3 short words that could have closed a wound. 3 short words that never appeared on any front page, never broke into any evening news, never echoed from a police podium under harsh fluorescent light. Instead, what they got was another kind of headline. Small town terror, vanished without a trace. Mystery on a lonely Texas road. And in the middle of it all, one girl, one truck, one night that never ended for the people who lived through it. Picture this, late October 2001, West Texas sky hanging low over a town you can drive through in 5 minutes if you don't hit the one traffic light. Pump jacks nodding in the distance like tired sentries. A strip of Main Street with a diner, a laundromat, a feed store that smells like dust and molasses. The Friday night lights have gone dark, the homecoming game is over, and the sound of a marching band still lingers somewhere in the air like a fading echo. This is the kind of town where everybody knows your name, your parents, your dog, and the color of your truck. This is the kind of town where people say, nothing bad happens here, until something bad happens here. Her name is Emily Hart, 19. Dark hair, sharp smile, the kind of girl who waves first. Works evenings at the Lone Star Diner, studies part-time at the community college 40 miles down the highway, talks about leaving town like it's a fantasy and a warning at the same time. One day I'm just going to drive and not stop, she told her best friend a week before she vanished. It sounded like a joke then, a throwaway line. But in a cold case file, every throwaway line becomes a headline. One day she drove, one day she didn't come back. The date, October 19th, 2001. The night feels ordinary. In that way, nights only feel ordinary right before they become legend. The diner is packed after the game. Mud-streaked cleats, cheerleading uniforms, parents still wrapped in team colors, grease popping on the grill, country music humming on a radio with bad reception. Emily moves between tables with practice speed, coffee pot in one hand, order pad in the other. Refill? Y'all need anything? You guys win? Little pieces of sound that mean nothing until people replay them in their heads for years, trying to hear more than what was there. She clocks out at 11:07 p.m. The receipt tape will later show the exact time, circled in red ink by a detective who never forgot it. She stuffs tips into her apron, grabs her backpack from the hook in the back, waves a casual goodbye to her manager, and pushes out the back door into the kind of empty chill that only hits small-town parking lots at night. One security light buzzes over the dumpsters, crickets scream in the weeds. Somewhere far off, a semi rolls past on the highway, its engine a low metallic growl. Her truck is there. Everyone in town knows that truck. A faded red Chevy with a dent in the passenger door and a sticker on the bumper that reads, in peeling white letters, Jesus, take the wheel. No one knows how many times her mother stared at that sticker after October 19th, begging it to mean something it never did. Emily tosses her backpack onto the seat, jams the key into the ignition, and pulls out of the lot. A camera on the bank across the street catches the headlights as they swing past, just a brief wash of light on grainy black and white footage, the last confirmed image of her alive. From that point on, the night fractures into quotes, memories, and contradictions. A witness at the gas station swears he saw her at 11:25, buying a soda and a pack of gum. The clerk remembers her smile, the way she tapped her fingers on the counter in time with the music. Another man says he saw her truck on Farm to Market Road 16, taillights disappearing into the darkness around 11:40. A couple parked out by the old quarry thinks they heard a scream around midnight maybe, or maybe it was a coyote, maybe it was the wind. In a town like this, the line between what you heard and what you think you heard is razor thin, and once the story starts, every sound from that night becomes a clue, or a ghost. What we know is simple. Emily leaves work, Emily drives, Emily doesn't come home. Her mother waits up. That part never changes. A lamp on in the living room, a blanket around her shoulders, the TV on low, flickering blue light across family photos on the wall. She tells herself not to worry. Emily has done late nights before. There's traffic, a flat tire, a friend's house, a phone call she forgot to make. The clock creeps past midnight. Past 1. Past 2. The silence thickens, gets heavy, turns into something with weight and teeth. By 3 in the morning, her mother is pacing. By 4, she's calling friends. By 5, she's calling the sheriff's office. Missing person, 19-year-old female. Last seen leaving work. Possible vehicle, red Chevy pickup. Partial plate 7K. The dispatcher's voice is calm, steady, the way people sound when they still believe in simple explanations. Overslept. Ran off with a boyfriend, forgot to call. In those first hours, the word missing feels temporary, like static before the signal comes back. It hasn't turned into the other words yet. Cold case, unsolved, mystery. Dawn breaks over Texas with a flat, unforgiving light. Deputies drive the usual routes, highway, farm roads, dirt tracks that curl behind cotton fields. They expect to find something small and fixable. A dead battery, a blown tire, a truck half in a ditch, Emily waving sheepishly from the side of the road. What they find is different. At 7:23 a.m., a rancher calls it in. Abandoned vehicle, strange location, mile marker 42 on Farm to Market 16, a stretch of road that's more rumor than destination. No houses, no streetlights, just scrub, barbed wire, and a thin ribbon of asphalt carving through empty land. The red Chevy sits on the gravel shoulder, angled slightly toward the field like it tried to turn but didn't finish the thought. Driver's door ajar, interior lights still on, engine off, but the key is in the ignition. One shoe in the dirt, lying on its side like somebody kicked it off mid-stride. It's the kind of scene that makes your stomach drop because it's not dramatic. There's no smashed glass, no tangled metal, no skid marks screaming across the pavement. It just looks wrong. Wrong, quiet, incomplete. Like someone hit pause in the middle of a normal moment and never hit play again. Deputies approach with their hands on their belts, not yet on their guns. They call out her name as if she might answer from behind the truck, from the ditch, from the tall grass. Emily? The wind blows back at them. A hawk circles overhead, indifferent. They look inside. Her purse is on the passenger seat. Wallet, ID, cash. Her phone, the old flip kind, rests in the cup holder. No outgoing calls after 11:13 p.m. Texts unanswered. Her backpack is on the floorboard, unzipped, textbooks spilling out like she dropped them in a hurry. No blood, no struggle, no sign she ever stepped away from the vehicle, except that she's not there. Headline forming, Texas teen vanishes, truck found on lonely road, no sign of foul play. The last line is always there in the early reports, no sign of foul play. As if the absence of a body, the quiet, the stillness, is somehow reassuring, as if what you don't see can't hurt you. The sheriff arrives, gray hat, tired eyes, a man who's lived his whole life in this county and thought he'd seen everything it could throw at him. He walks the scene in slow, tight circles, taking it in, chewing on details. The open door, the single shoe, the lack of tire tracks beyond the shoulder, the barbed wire fence intact, the field stretching out on both sides like an ocean of dry grass. If Emily walked away from this spot, there should be footprints, but the ground is hard-packed, stubborn. The earth gives up nothing. By mid-morning, the search begins. Patrol cars crawl up and down the road, lights off, eyes scanning ditches and culverts. Volunteers gather at the little Baptist church, gulping down harsh coffee from styrofoam cups, pinning photocopied flyers to bulletin boards. Missing in big black letters, Emily's school photo under it, the one with the awkward studio backdrop and the nervous smile she always hated. Those photos go up on utility poles, in shop windows, on the corkboard by the post office boxes. People who haven't said her name in weeks suddenly can't stop saying it. Search and rescue teams sweep the fields in lines, boots crunching through dry grass, calling out until their voices crack. Hunters bring their own dogs. The county brings in bloodhounds from 2 counties over. Helicopters trace low arcs over the landscape, blades chopping the air, infrared cameras scanning for a human heat signature that isn't there. The media arrives, drawn by the combination that always sells. Small town, young woman, empty vehicle, endless questions. News vans park outside the sheriff's office. Reporters stand in front of brick walls and chain-link fences, talking into cameras. Rural mystery, chilling disappearance, family desperate for answers. Inside the Hart House, the atmosphere hardens into something else. The kitchen fills with people and casseroles, the way it always does when tragedy brushes against a family in a town like this. But this isn't a funeral. There's no casket, no service, no end, just waiting. People say all the usual things. She'll turn up. She's strong. God is watching. The words stack up like sandbags against a flood everyone can see coming. Detectives move fast in those first 48 hours because they know the clock is not their friend. They sit down with friends, co-workers, relatives. They map out the last week of Emily's life on a whiteboard in the squad room, black lines and red arrows and tiny notes that read things like argument with mom, car trouble, new boyfriend. The board looks organized, controlled, almost neat. But it's a picture of chaos. Every ordinary interaction becomes a question mark. Every smile hides the possibility of a secret. The boyfriend is the first one they look at, because that's how these stories usually go. His name is Jason Miller, 20, works at the auto shop off the highway, muscular, nervous, jaw clenched tight as he sits under fluorescent lights, hands folded so hard his knuckles go white. He admits they argued that week. He says she wanted more, wanted out, wanted to leave town and not look back. She said this place was suffocating her, he mumbles, eyes on the table. But he swears he was home the night she disappeared, watching TV with his younger brother, phone logs and video game timestamps lined up like a defense attorney's dream. Then there's the stranger angle, cold case buzzword, unidentified male, dark truck, gas station sighting. The clerk tells investigators a man came in about 10 minutes after Emily, bought cigarettes, stared at her a little too long. Gave me a bad feeling, the clerk says, and in the retelling, that feeling only gets stronger. Was he following her? Did he leave when she left? The security camera footage is grainy, time-stamped, frustrating. You can see her, you can see him, but faces blur, plates smear, a whole life of digital evidence reduced to smudges and speculation. The town splits into theories the way it always does. Some say she ran away. Cold feet, they whisper in grocery store aisles. Kids these days, always chasing something bigger. Some insist it's someone local. Monster next door, the papers would call it if they knew who. Others point to that lonely road, that open truck, that single shoe, and see something larger, a drifter, a trucker, a predator passing through, plucking a life off the map and disappearing into the interstate system like smoke. All of that is noise. All of that is later. Right now in the first week, there's still hope. Every knock at the door could be her. Every ringing phone could be the call. Every tip line message, every reported sighting, girl at a rest stop, girl in a mall, girl hitchhiking on the edge of another town, keeps the belief alive that this won't be one of those stories. That this won't be one of those headlines, cold case, unsolved, haunting. But as the days stretch, as the search lines thin out, as the volunteers go back to work and the news vans roll off to the next tragedy, something shifts. The flyers curl at the edges. The picture fades in the sun. The case number on the detective's desk stays the same, but the stack of other files around it grows. Leads dry up. Tips repeat. I had a dream. I saw her face. I think I know what happened. Everyone has a theory, no one has proof. And out there, on that strip of Farm to Market 16, the gravel shoulder still bears the faint scars of tire tracks and boot prints, half erased by wind and time. The red Chevy has been towed to an impound lot, stripped for evidence, dusted for prints that don't match anyone in the system. The barren patch of roadside becomes a landmark, not for where something happened, but for where everything stopped. Locals drive past and lower their voices. Travelers don't even know they're passing a ghost. In a perfect world, this is where the story would pivot. This is where we would say, and then, years later, a breakthrough. New DNA, new witness, new confession. Texas 2001 cold case solved. But that's not this story. Not yet. Not for them. For this town. For this family. For the people who drove that road and never forgot the feeling in their stomachs when they saw that empty truck. The headline they wanted never appeared. Instead, the night of October 19th hardened into a question mark that would hang over everything that came after. Slowing time. Coloring memories. Turning a small Texas town into the kind of place whispered about in late-night documentaries and crime forums. A place with a story that won't sit still, a story that refuses to end. Weeks bleed into months, and the missing posters turn from urgent alerts into background noise. At first, every new flyer looks fresh, stapled straight, corners crisp, missing screaming in thick black marker from every bulletin board and telephone pole. By Christmas, the paper is sun-faded, rain-warped, stapled over 3 times. Her face staring out from under layers of tape and thumbtacks like she's trapped behind glass. People stop really seeing it. They know she's gone. They don't know where she went. Inside the sheriff's office, the case file thickens. Interviews, transcripts, tip line logs, maps, photos, aerial shots, lab reports. The file number means nothing to anyone outside the building, but to the detectives who touch it every day, it becomes its own kind of headline. Case 01-10-19, cold case in slow motion. A story that never reaches the part where the anchor says, "Today, authorities announced an arrest." Instead, they say things like, "still searching," and "following up every lead," and "asking the public for help," words that sound responsible and decisive but taste like dust after a while. They bring in the Texas Rangers. That phrase alone makes people sit up. Big guns, state-level muscle, men in pressed shirts and clean hats who walk into the sheriff's office with quiet confidence and a different kind of experience in their eyes. The lead ranger, a man named Morales, opens the file, flips through the pages, and then closes it again, as if the answers aren't on paper but hanging in the air around this town, waiting for someone to ask the right question. He goes back to the beginning. Always back to the beginning. He stands at the gas station counter watching the grainy security footage play on a little monitor. There she is. Emily. 11:23 p.m. Timestamp flickering. She steps up to the counter, puts a bottle of soda down, smiles at something the clerk says. Her hair is pulled back, wisps falling around her face. She looks tired, but not afraid. Not yet. The man behind her appears at the edge of the frame, ball cap low, jacket zipped up, a shadow where a face should be. He waits, he watches. Or maybe he just stands there. In a cold case, every still frame is accused. Did she know him? Morales asks. The clerk shakes his head. Never seen him before. At least I don't think I did. You start doubting, you know? Morales rewinds, plays it again, watches the way the man shifts his weight, the way his head tilts when Emily reaches for her wallet. Does he lean closer? Does he say something? Does she tense up, flinch, smile? The video doesn't answer. The pixels blur. A life reduces to dots. They pull stills. They blow them up. They send them to labs that promise miracles. Enhance, clarify, sharpen. The result, a fuzzy jawline, a hint of stubble, the ghost of a logo on a baseball cap. Not enough for an ID, enough to haunt. Back at the scene on Farm to Market 16, Morales walks the distance from where the truck sat to the barbed wire fence. 22 steps. He counts them out loud, gravel crunching under polished boots. He stops at the fence, looks out over the field, the brown grass undulating in the wind like a low, dead ocean. If someone forced her out of the truck, he says to the deputy beside him, they had seconds. 22 steps, then what? Over the fence, into the field, or into another vehicle parked right here. He points to empty air. A second vehicle. Invisible. Essential. A headline waiting to form. Mystery truck. Unknown driver. Possible abduction. The deputy shifts, uneasy. No tire tracks, the deputy says. Nothing beyond the shoulder. Morales nods, eyes still scanning the horizon. Ground was hard. If it was a bigger truck, weight distributed different, might not leave much, or maybe it wasn't parked, maybe it just pulled up, door open, quick grab, gone. He says it calmly, like he's describing a weather pattern. The deputy feels the back of his neck prickle anyway. They drag that bar ditch twice. They send divers into the stock tanks on nearby properties, dark water swallowing beams of light. They run cadaver dogs along the fence line, through the mesquite, under the low branches of scrubby trees. The dogs sniff, pause, change direction, bark at something only they understand. Reports are written. Possible hit. Area searched. No remains found. The words pile up, cold and official. In town, rumors mutate. At the diner where Emily used to work, regulars keep their voices low, but not low enough. Some say Jason's alibi doesn't sit right, that his younger brother would say whatever he needed him to say. Some swear they saw Emily arguing with someone in the parking lot 2 weeks before she vanished, a man in a black truck, or maybe it was dark blue, or maybe it was a car. Details shift, the story hardens. Secrets are assigned to people who might not have them. Jason walks into the grocery store and feels eyes on the back of his neck. He hears the silence ripple as he passes. Conversations pausing a half second too long. The sheriff's office cleared him. Polygraph, timeline, no physical evidence tying him to the truck or the scene. But clearing someone on paper is not the same as clearing them in the court of a small town's collective imagination. In the aisles between canned corn and cereal, he becomes a headline. Boyfriend under cloud of suspicion. He can't sleep. He can't work without feeling the weight of stares. He starts driving the long way home to avoid the farm road where her truck was found. Emily's mother doesn't drive that way at all. She redraws the map of her life to avoid that stretch of asphalt like it's a wound she can't bear to touch. She keeps Emily's room exactly as it was. Posters on the wall, textbooks on the desk, a half-burned candle in a glass jar that still smells faintly of vanilla if you lean close enough. The closet holds clothes that will never go out of style because they'll never be worn again. On the dresser, under a thin layer of dust that she wipes off every morning, sits a framed church photo of the three of them. Mom, dad, daughter, all lined up and squinting in the sun. The father left a year before the disappearance, a slow drift out of town and out of responsibility. Now he's a shadow in the story too, another question mark people bring up when they run out of other suspects. The FBI gets a brief look. NamUs entries, missing persons databases, cross-references with other cases along interstate corridors. Young women, late nights, lone vehicles. They check for patterns like a doctor checks for a rash. Is this part of something bigger or just its own isolated tragedy? The answer is a shrugs and paperwork kind of no. Similarities here and there, but nothing clean, nothing that screams serial predator, nothing that lets them hang this on a truck stop killer with a pattern of victims stretching across state lines. No neat narrative, no easy monster. Year one becomes year two. The anniversary creeps up like a storm. Local news runs apiece. A year ago today, the anchor says, voice solemn, backdrop a faded photo of Emily's smile. They cut to the mother, sitting at her kitchen table, fingers laced so tight her knuckles look like bone. We just want answers, she says. We just want her home. The soundbite plays on loop all weekend. People change the channel, people leave it on and stare through it. People hear it in the lobby of the laundromat and look at their shoes. A candlelight vigil at the high school football field. Teens with flickering flames and little paper cups. Teachers who remember grading her essays. The principal who once scolded her for too many tardies, now standing with watery eyes and a hand over his heart. The pastor says words about mystery and faith, about God's timing and the unknowable. The mother stands there and listens and hears none of it. All she hears is the silence where a truck door slammed and a girl did not walk back in. In the sheriff's squad room, the whiteboard that once held the messy map of her last days is wiped clean and repurposed for fresher tragedies. Bar fights, burglaries, the daily churn of small-town crime. But the case file never moves far. Morales visits quarterly now, sits down with the local detectives, opens the file, asks, "Anything new?" Sometimes there's a tip to review, a phone call from a prison where an inmate claims to know something, wants to trade information for favors. "Yeah, I heard about that girl in Texas," a letter reads. Guy bragged about snatching her up, driving her across the border. They follow it up. Background checks, transport records, interviews that go nowhere. Inmates talk, inmates lie, inmates watch the same crime shows everyone else does. 3 years in, a skull is found in a dry creek bed 50 miles away. Headline flash, possible break in 2001, missing woman case. Traffic spikes on local news sites. Emily's mother sits down hard when the deputy comes to the door, the look on his face more eloquent than any words. They send the remains to the lab. They wait. Days stretch into weeks. When the results come back, the relief and disappointment hit like the same wave from two directions. Not Emily. Another woman. Another story. Another unsolved case. Cold case. It starts as a phrase used quietly in hallways. If this goes cold, the detectives say early on, we'll still keep it open. We'll still work it when we can. As the years add up, the phrase moves outward, into reports, into conversations, into the way people talk about October 19th. The night she disappeared shifts from that night to back when it happened. Time stretches, memory distorts, details slip. A new deputy joins the force, young, eager, fresh from an academy where they teach cutting-edge forensic techniques and emphasize that technology solves everything if you just collect enough data. He asks about the heart file. The older detectives hand it over, watching him with something between amusement and pity. He stays late, flipping through pages, sticky notes blooming from the edges like neon flags. He sketches a crude timeline, circles patterns only he can see. We could rerun the DNA with newer methods, he says, tapping a lab report from 2001. Try familial matching, re-interview witnesses, use cognitive recall techniques. Hit the state database again for that unknown print from the truck. "Kid," one of the older deputies says, "we've hit that print against every system we got. No match." "Yeah," the young deputy replies, eyes flashing. "But that was before they expanded the database. Before some of those guys did time on new charges, the profile pool got bigger. We should try again." And that's the thing about cold cases. They never really die. They just wait for someone new to care enough to dig. The sheriff approves sending the evidence back to the lab. They package up the items like relics, swabs, fibers, the shirt Emily wore at the diner that night, collected from her laundry basket by a mother who clung to every piece of fabric like it could somehow anchor her daughter in place. The lab promises to rerun the samples with updated processes. Words like increased sensitivity and partial profiles and family tree matching float in the air, almost hopeful. In the quiet spaces between those promises, the town keeps living. Kids graduate from the same high school Emily attended. They drive the same roads, park out by the same quarry, tell each other the story like it's a campfire ghost tale. "You know about the girl who vanished on this highway, right?" They whisper in the dark, headlights off, engine ticking as it cools. Her truck was found right there. Door open, keys still inside. They never found her. They say if you drive past at midnight, you can see her in your rear view. They say it with the casual cruelty of the young, but those words sink in deeper than they know. Someone paints a small white cross at the spot where her truck was discovered, right at the edge of the bar ditch. No one claims responsibility. It just appears one morning, simple, unadorned, leaning slightly. A marker not just for where she might have taken her last steps, but for where the town's sense of safety bled out into the dust. Over time, people leave things there. Flowers, a ribbon in school colors, a laminated photo that curls at the edges in the sun. The case drifts online. Message boards, early true crime forums with neon text on black backgrounds, threads titled Texas 2001 Cold Case. What really happened? Users with names like Lone Star Watcher and Cold Case Junkie trade theories, maps, scan newspaper clippings. They circled the same facts in digital highlighter that Morales circled in ink years ago. Gas station man, boyfriend alibi, mysterious scream at the quarry, truck door open, single shoe. Every detail gets pulled apart, reassembled, turned into a puzzle piece that might fit 100 different pictures. One night, a user posts something new. My uncle drove trucks through that area back then, the message reads. He told me once about a girl who flagged him down on a dark road, said she needed help, looked scared. He always wondered if it was connected. The forum explodes with questions. When? Where? What did she look like? Did he report it? The answers are vague, secondhand, blurred by time and guilt and the human need to connect ourselves to stories bigger than our own lives. The post gets bookmarked, cited, reposted. It never turns into a solid lead. In the Hart House, the mailbox is a trap. Letters arrive from strangers across the state, sometimes across the country. Psychics who claim to have seen Emily in visions, standing near water, near trees, near a house with a red door. People who dream of her, of highways, of fields, and decide the dreams must mean something. A few mean well, their words soft and full of sympathy. Others feel invasive, like hands rummaging through grief. I know who took your daughter, one anonymous note reads. He lives in your town. Everyone knows, and everyone is covering it up. No name, no details, just gasoline on the fire. Through it all, one phrase continues to hover over this town, over that lonely road, over the thickening file and the fading flyers. A phrase whispered in squad rooms and living rooms, spoken aloud on late-night radio shows and in online threads. Texas 2001 cold case. The word solved never gets attached to it. Not in headlines, not in official statements, not in the reality these people wake up to every day. But the desire for that word, for that ending, doesn't fade. It sharpens, it waits, it turns every new development, every lab report, every rumor of a jailhouse confession or a newfound bone into a potential turning point, the moment the story might finally crack open and flood the town with answers. And so even as the calendar pages flip, even as the world moves on to newer tragedies and fresher mysteries, the shadow of that night in October 2001 stays, on the road, in the house, in the file, in the lives of everyone who drove past that truck, who stapled up that flyer, who watched that grainy gas station footage and thought, if only we could see just a little more. The letter from the lab arrives on a Tuesday. No sirens, no breaking news banner. Just a white envelope dropped in a wire basket on a cluttered desk, hidden under utility bills and a memo about overtime requests. The young deputy spots the return address, feels his pulse spike, fishes it out like it's ticking. Texas Department of Public Safety Crime Lab. He calls the sheriff into the office, shuts the door, slides the envelope across the desk with fingertips that don't quite feel steady. They open it together, 2 pages, stapled, words in tight lines, clinical, precise, updated DNA analysis, new methods, increased sensitivity, partial profiles, a match? Not quite. The language dances around it, consistent with possibility of shared ancestry, familial indications. The unknown profile from the truck, from some smudge on a fabric edge no one noticed in 2001, now brushes up against another profile in the expanded database. Not the person, maybe a relative, maybe a cousin, maybe noise. The name tied to that profile belongs to a man already in the system for burglary, assault, a bar fight that went sideways in a town 2 counties over. He's in prison now, serving time, probably staring at a different set of cinder block walls as his name lands on a desk in a sheriff's office 40 miles away. The deputy leans over the paper, scanning every number, every word. He had family out here? He asks. Any connection to this county? The answer is a weak, unsatisfying maybe. A cousin who worked a pipeline job, an aunt who moved away years ago, a truck registered briefly to an address near the interstate. Threads, nothing solid. Morales comes back, file under his arm, eyes sharper than before. He reads the letter twice, lips pressed in a hard line, then nods once. We talk to him, he says. We talk to everyone around him. We treat this like heat until it cools on its own. They drive to the prison. Gates, bars, the clank of metal and the cloying smell of disinfectant and sweat. The man they've come for walks into the interview room in a faded jumpsuit, shackles whispering against the floor. He's older than his mugshot, heavier, lines carved deeper into his forehead. He sits. He looks at Morales, at the young deputy, at the recorder on the table. You know why you're here? Morales asks. He shrugs. You tell me. Morales drops the name, Emily Hart, 2001, red Chevy on a lonely road. The man's face stays still for 1 beat, 2, then shifts into something between confusion and irritation. I don't know anything about that, he says. I wasn't out there. I never... He stops, changes tack. I was living in Lubbock then. Ask anybody. My mama, my boss. I didn't do nothing with some girl in some little town. They push, they circle. Morales lays out pieces of the story, watching for the flicker, the flinch, the slip. The man sticks to his denials. He admits to fights, to thefts, to nights he can't fully remember. But every time the conversation edges toward that October, that road, that truck, he pulls back like he's backed up against an invisible fence. You're trying to pin some old missing girl on me because you got nothing else, he snaps at one point, chains rattling as he shifts. I never heard of her till you said her name. The interview ends like a curtain falling. No confession, no slip, no sudden cinematic admission. The deputy walks out of the prison with a knot in his gut and a copy of the man's visitor logs in his hand. Morales walks behind him, silent, thinking, adding this man to the long growing list of names orbiting the heart case like debris around a dead star. Back home, they run down every relative, every address, every job site, every timeline. Did this family ever pass through that town in 2001? Did any of them buy gas at that station, eat at the diner, drive farm to market 16 at 11:40 on a Friday night? Records are incomplete. People misremember. Some are dead now. Some moved away and don't answer calls from unknown numbers. The potential familial connection that looked so sharp on lab letterhead blurs at the edges in real life. The young deputy keeps a printout of the match notice pinned above his desk anyway. A little white square of possibility, a reminder that the case can still twitch, still jerk, still show signs of life. At 2 a.m, when the phones are quiet and the air conditioner hums like distant thunder, he finds himself staring at it, tracing the patterns in the numbers with his eyes, willing them to rearrange into something that spells out a name that fits. Meanwhile, the rest of the town is dragged back into the story in a different way. Technology creeps in. Social media turns the old rumor mill into something faster, sharper, more permanent. A local blogger writes a long post titled "The Ghost of Farm Road 16," weaving together what's known and what's guessed with equal weight. The post gets shared, commented on, argued over. People who never met Emily, never drove that road, never attended a vigil, suddenly have opinions about what happened to her and who might be responsible. Someone creates a Facebook page, Justice for Emily Hart. The profile picture is that same school photo, cropped tight, smile caught in mid-awkwardness. The page posts old articles, photos of the cross by the road, updates on any tiny movement in the case. People leave comments. Praying for your family. I remember seeing her at the diner. She was always so sweet, mixed in with those, the other kind. I heard the boyfriend confessed once when he was drunk. Everybody knows it was that one deputy's cousin. This town is covering for one of its own. The mother sees it all, sometimes because she goes looking, sometimes because it finds her anyway, pinging on her phone, pushing through her front door in the form of neighbors with fresh gossip dressed up as concern. She sits at her kitchen table, the same place she sat in front of the news cameras years before, scrolling through strangers' theories about her daughter's final moments. Each new thread is a wound. Each wild accusation is another way to lose her. The sheriff's office watches the online storm from the inside, torn between hope and damage control. For every useless rumor, there might be one comment, one throwaway mention of a truck, a man, a memory that points towards someone they haven't talked to yet. They create a dedicated email tip line. They get flooded. Messages from as far away as Ohio. Someone says they picked up a hitchhiker in 2001 who matches Emily's description. Another insists she's alive, living under a new name, sends a blurry photo of a woman at a Walmart checkout line. The deputies sift through it all, separating the obviously false from the possibly relevant. The pile of noise grows. Then a message comes in from closer to home, a name that's familiar. A quiet, steady man who used to work nights at the feed store who moved to the next town over a few years back. He wants to talk. He doesn't want to come into the station. He wants to meet at the church hall, neutral ground, like he's confessing to a priest rather than telling law enforcement what's been eating him alive for a decade. They sit in metal folding chairs under fluorescent lights. Coffee in styrofoam cups, untouched. He leans forward, elbows on his knees, eyes on the floor. I'm not saying I know what happened, he starts. I don't, but there's something I never told you, something I saw that night. The young deputy's heart speeds up. He forces his voice to stay level. Go ahead. The man talks about driving home late, the night Emily's truck was found. Not long after midnight. Dark. No traffic. The kind of quiet where you hear your own engine like it's the only sound in the world. As he approached the stretch near mile marker 42, he saw headlights in his rear view. A vehicle coming up fast, too fast. It tailgated him, bright beams flooding his small car, then swung out into the other lane and roared past. I only saw it for a second, he says. But it was a truck, big one, dual rear wheels, maybe white, maybe light colored, no trailer, just the truck. And there was, I don't know, a feeling like it was wrong. Driver never looked at me, just barreled by. He glances up, guilt raw on his face. I thought about calling it in, but, stupid people drive too fast all the time. I didn't connect it till the next morning when I heard about her truck. I thought maybe it was nothing, maybe it was everything, and the longer I waited, the harder it got to say anything. Then time passed, and I thought, what's the point? Morales asks him to go over it again. Details, time, direction, speed. They tease out what they can. A big truck, maybe a company logo on the door, but he can't remember it. Maybe out-of-county plates, but he wasn't close enough to read them. The description is just specific enough to tantalize, just vague enough to torment. Back at the office, they pull every registration for big trucks in the surrounding area from that year. They cross-reference with employment records from oil field companies, construction outfits, anyone who might have had a vehicle matching that ghost shape racing down the road. The list is enormous. Men who worked nights, who worked alone, who had reason to be near that road. Some are dead, some are clean, some have records that make the deputy's skin crawl. They interview as many as they can find. The questions tread the same path over and over. Where were you that night? Did you drive that road? Did you ever pick up a girl in a red Chevy? Faces blur. Stories overlap. After each interview, the deputy sits alone at his desk, trying to feel something, recognition, suspicion, snap certainty. All he feels is exhaustion and the sense that the answer might be buried under piles of near misses and almost clues. Years continue to add up. 15, 16, another anniversary piece on the news. The anchor is younger now, born after Emily vanished, reading words about a mystery that still haunts this community from a teleprompter like lines in a school play. The B-roll is the same. The cross by the road, the exterior of the diner, now under new ownership, new paint on the walls, old whispers still in the tile. A wide shot of the sheriff's office, the camera lingering just a little too long on the glass door as if the truth might walk out of it at any moment, hands cuffed, head bowed. A small production company reaches out. They want to feature the case in a documentary series. Cold Cases of the Heartland. They promise sensitivity, visibility, new eyes. They talk about advanced forensic labs and crowdsourced investigations, about how sometimes, when a story hits a wider audience, the right person finally hears it. They frame it like a lifeline. The sheriff is wary, the mother hesitates. The young deputy, now not quite so young, sees a chance. The camera crews arrive. Cables, lights, questions asked 3 times from 3 different angles. What do you remember about that night? What do you hope people will do if they recognize something? How has this changed your town? The mother sits under hot lights, fingers twisting a tissue into shreds, and says, "I just want the truth." The sheriff stands in front of shelves of case files and says, "We never stopped working this." The deputy walks the host through the scene on Farm to Market 16, retracing those 22 steps to the fence while a drone buzzes overhead, capturing it all from the air. When the episode airs months later, the town goes quiet for an hour. Living rooms glow blue, bars turn up the volume. The story they've been living inside for years gets repackaged into a tight 40-minute narrative with ominous music and slow-motion shots of wind in the grass. The host's voiceover uses all the phrases they know too well. Chilling disappearance, mysterious vehicle, community in shock. Online, the episode trends. New threads spin up. New strangers join the chorus of speculation. Among all those strangers, one person presses pause, leaning forward, eyes narrowing, not at the old photos, not at the crime scene recreations, but at a background shot, a blur, barely more than a shape, glimpsed for a second as the camera pans across a wall in the sheriff's office. A wall holding a different set of photos, a lineup, a grid, faces. And one of those faces, one of those eyes, caught mid-blink in the back of a frame, looks like someone they know, someone they haven't thought about in years. Someone who left town suddenly, around 2002, with a story that never made full sense. The viewer sits back, heart pounding, mind racing, suddenly part of the story. They stare at the frozen frame. They rewind, they watch again. The question forms in their throat like a stone. Could it be? The email they start typing trembles with urgency. Fingers hover, delete, retype. Subject line, about the man in your show. Body, a tumbling mix of apology and fear. I might be wrong, but I think I recognize someone from your lineup in the background. If I'm right, he used to work with my brother. He had a truck. He scared me. And he left town right after that girl disappeared. They attach a screenshot, pause with the cursor over send, like it's a trigger. Then they click. Out it goes. Through servers, wires, invisible routes, landing in an inbox in a county sheriff's office that's already drowning in messages labeled urgent, tip, I know who did it. For once, the right eyes see it fast. The deputy opens the inbox, skimming subject lines with that dull fatigue that comes from too many false alarms. Psychic dream. Confession from beyond the grave. Yet another stranger convinced they saw Emily in a crowd 3 states away. Then that one subject line hooks him. About the man in your show. He clicks. He reads. He scrolls down to the screenshot. The image is blurry, frozen off the TV, but he knows the wall behind him. He knows the row of photos. He was standing there when they filmed that shot, and there, in the far right corner of the frame, half cut off, out of focus, is a face from an old photo. A mugshot from a minor charge. A person of interest they never quite elevated to suspect, a man who drifted through their radar years ago like a shadow crossing a wall. He stares at it, then at the name the email gives him, not the name from the file, a different one. You knew him as Cole Jensen, the email says, but his real last name is Jarvis. He changed it. He worked with my brother on a construction crew outside your county. He had a white dually truck. He used to drive nights. And one time, drunk, he said, you can pick up anything you want on those dark farm roads nobody ever sees. I thought he was just being gross. Then I saw your show, and I remembered he disappeared around 2002. Quit the job. Vanished. My brother said he was headed south. No one ever heard from him again. The deputy feels the room tilt just a little. He prints the email, he prints the screenshot even though it's muddy and poor. He pulls the heart file from the cabinet, slams it on his desk, flips back to the early years, to a list of names from 2001 and 2002 that looked promising for 5 minutes and then went nowhere. There it is. Jensen, Cole, picked up on a DUI in the county a few months before Emily vanished. Questioned briefly when they were casting a wide net, said he didn't know her, said he was just passing through, drove a truck, unknown employer, no fixed address, transient labor written in the margin. He runs his hand down the page, feels the rough drag of cheap paper. How many times did they look right at this name and blink past it because something louder, shinier, more obvious pulled their attention away? He takes the printouts to the sheriff, to Morales. They gather in the conference room, old fluorescent lights buzzing like a hive. The email is passed around, the sentences underlined in red. White dually truck. He scared me. Left town right after. Real last name. Jarvis, Morales says, tasting it. We ever run that name? Maybe he gave us the alias last time. The deputy's fingers are already on the keyboard. State databases, national databases, old arrest reports. A trail emerges, faint but real. Cole Jarvis, born 3 counties over. Petty crime record as a teenager. In and out of short stints for theft, disorderly conduct, bar fights. A warrant for unpaid fines that was never cleared. Then a cluster of activity around 2000 and 2001. Day labor at construction sites near oil fields. A citation for speeding on a highway that cuts within 20 miles of Farm to Market 16. And then, nothing. The record goes quiet after 2002 like someone pressed mute. They cross-reference. Jarvis, Jensen, any combination of the two. Eventually one more hit, a border stop in 2003. South Texas. Minor incident, some paperwork glitch, his name logged in some forgotten database. Listed as truck mechanic. Destination, crossing into Mexico for work. No criminal charge, no follow-up, just a line on a screen. So he did go south, the deputy murmurs. A lot of people do, the sheriff says, arms crossed. Doesn't make him a killer. No, Morales agrees, but his name is on our list. His truck matches the witness's story. He did night drives, he made creepy comments, and he lied to us about his last name. That's enough to dig. They start digging like their hands are on fire. They call the brother from the email. He fills in details, voice rough, sometimes defensive, sometimes ashamed. Yeah, Jarvis worked with us. Yeah, he was weird. Angry. You could feel it off him. He had this thing where he liked driving back roads. Said the interstate was for cowards and cops. He did disappear. One day he just didn't show up. Boss said he'd quit. No forwarding address. They ask about the truck. White, dual rear wheels, a scar across the passenger door where a logo used to be. Used to be a company truck somewhere else, the brother says. He painted over the old lettering himself. Sloppy job. You could still see the outline under the paint if the light hit it right. The deputy pictures that truck screaming past in the night, as the feed store worker described. Big, light-colored, wrong. He feels that prickle at the back of his neck again. Storylines start to braid together in his head. A man with 2 last names, a truck with a ghost logo, a road with a missing girl. They chase Jarvis' paper trail across counties, old landlords, paycheck stubs, social security records. A pattern emerges. He bounced from job to job, always around the edges of rural towns, always near stretches of road that look a lot like Farm to Market 16, no tie strong enough to leave a mark, no family close enough to demand answers when he vanished. Then one more blow. A death certificate, found in a dusty registry in a tiny county along the border. Cole Matthew Jarvis, age 43, deceased 2010. Cause: complications from an infection after an accident at an auto yard. No next of kin listed, no obituary, no one claimed the body. He was buried in a potter's field, a numbered marker in sun-baked dirt. The deputy stares at the screen for a long time, the name that could have been a suspect, the man who could have held everything in his hands. Gone. 8 years ago, beyond interviews, beyond interrogations, beyond confessions. So that's it, the sheriff says quietly. If it was him, he took it to the grave. Or, Morales says, slow, someone else did this, and he's just an ugly coincidence in the blast radius. The deputy feels anger surge up, hot and useless. He wants someone alive to follow, someone he can sit across from and look in the eyes and say, tell me what you did. A dead man gives nothing. A dead man steals resolution. But the dead can still leave traces. They dig into Jarvis's world, old storage units, pawn shop receipts. They track down a storage unit registered under his alias, long since defaulted and cleared, contents sold off in a bulk auction years ago. The current owner of the contents? A reseller who barely remembers the lot. Just tools and junk, he says. Rust, old seat covers, nothing special. No diary, no trophy box, no hidden file labeled 2001 with a map and a confession. They talk to a woman who once shared a trailer with Jarvis for a few months. She remembers the smell of cigarette smoke, motor oil, and rage. He'd come home wired, she says, arms folded, staring out a window as she talks. Hands shaking. Wouldn't say where he'd been. Just called the roads his territory. I left after he grabbed me once. He had a temper, but I never heard him talk about no girl from your town. The deputy asks her to look at photos. Emily's face, the red Chevy, the lonely road. She looks and finally shakes her head. I don't know her, she says, then softer. I wish I did, so I could give you something. On paper, Jarvis becomes their best suspect without ever officially earning the title. The file thickens with his name, his aliases, his movements. A half-finished picture of a man who could have pulled up behind a red Chevy on a dark road and opened a passenger door and changed a town forever. The detectives argue quietly in hallways. Some are sure it was him. Others warn against pinning a case on a dead man just because he fits the story. You do that, one of the old-timers says, and people will say the case is solved. They'll close the book, but we won't really know. Maybe we never will, another replies. The young deputy, older now, lines at the corners of his eyes, hair receding at his temples, sits with the heart file spread out in front of him like a broken mirror. Emily's photos, the gas station stills, the truck on the gravel, the single shoe, the lab letter about the familial DNA, the email about Jarvis, the death certificate, all these fragments, sharp and glittering, none of them enough to build a verdict. He thinks about the title that's been haunting him for years, the one every reporter wants to use, the one every true crime thread fantasizes about typing. Texas 2001 cold case solved. But in the real world, solved isn't just a gut feeling. It's charges, evidence, a narrative that stands up in court, not just in living rooms. He knows they're not there, not yet, maybe not ever. He goes to see Emily's mother. She's older too, grayer, the lines on her face deeper and defined not by age alone, but by the constant weight of a question she's carried for so long it's fused to her bones. She sits at that same kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug that's gone cold. The deputy lays out what they've found in careful terms. A possible suspect, a man with two names, a truck that matches a witness description, the fact that he's dead. He doesn't say case closed. He doesn't say we know. He says this is someone who's looking more and more like he could be involved. Her eyes never leave his face. She listens without interrupting. When he finishes, the silence between them is thick. So you're telling me, she says slowly, that the man who might have taken my daughter is gone, that I don't get to look him in the eye, that I don't get to see him in handcuffs, that there's no trial, no verdict, no nothing. He swallows. I'm telling you that this is the strongest lead we've had in years, but we can't say with certainty. We may never be able to. She nods, a tiny movement. Her gaze drifts to the family photo on the shelf, to the hallway where Emily's room sits frozen in time, to the door, as if half expecting it to open, even after all these years. People ask me, she says, voice flat, if I want the case solved. Like it's simple, like solved is a magic word. But what you're giving me isn't solved, is it? It's a name, a maybe, a ghost. She looks back at him. Do you believe it was him? He hesitates only a second. I think he's our best answer. Best answer, she repeats. The words taste like ash. Not the truth, not all the way. He doesn't argue, he can't. In town, the news leaks out in bits, rumors of a dead suspect, a man who got away with it in life, caught in death, as one overheard conversation in the diner puts it. The documentary people circle back, eager for an update. New suspect named in Texas 2001 cold case, the headlines tease, even though no official statement uses the word suspect. The podcast crowd pounces. Was Cole Jarvis the phantom of Farm Road 16, they ask in breathy intros? Comment sections ignite. Some locals seize on the story like drowning people grabbing a rope. It was him. It had to be. They talk about seeing a white truck back then, about a stranger at a gas station, about a man who gave them a bad feeling once and must have been Jarvis, even if time has warped the memory beyond recognition. They say, at least we kind of know now. At least, kind of. Half answers dressed as closure. Others push back. You can't blame a dead guy just because he's convenient, someone says at the bar. They don't have his DNA. They don't have anything tying him to her truck. Just stories. We've had stories for years. The road doesn't care. Farm to Market 16 lies under the same sky, winds through the same fields, carries the same trucks and tired commuters and late-night teenagers. The cross at the mile marker leans a little more. The ribbons fade. The story deepens, its edges growing jagged with each new maybe. Online, the case file explodes into new life, old threads resurrected, new diagrams, people mapping Jarvis's movements, plugging them into digital overlays, drawing lines where he might have been in October 2001. They cross-examine the email from the sibling, scrutinize the border record, debate whether a man with his history would leave no other obvious victims. Some argue he was a perfect storm of opportunity, rage, and anonymity. Others insist the true perpetrator is still out there, laughing at the way the world has latched onto the wrong man. For the deputy, the noise recedes into the background. Above all the theories, above all the chatter, one fact remains. He still drives past the spot where her truck was found. Not every day, not as ritual, but often enough. Late sometimes, when the sky is black and the headlights carve the road into a narrow tunnel of visibility. He slows near mile marker 42, eyes flicking toward the shoulder out of reflex. For a second in his mind's eye, the red Chevy is still there, door open, dome light on, key in the ignition, single shoe in the dirt, the night breathing quietly around a crime that never finished writing its own final line. Behind the wheel, he hears the echo of the phrase that refuses to settle. Texas 2001 cold case solved. It hovers just out of reach, like a headline from a parallel universe where Jarvis lived long enough to confess, or where a piece of evidence fell into place with the clean sound of a lock turning. In this universe, the words stay in the conditional. Could be, might be, maybe was. And somewhere in a small house under that same Texas sky, a woman lies awake in a dark bedroom, staring at the ceiling, replaying a younger man's hesitant voice as he spoke a dead stranger's name and called it hope. The thing about a maybe is that it never stops echoing. It bounces off walls, it sinks into coffee, it creeps into every conversation that starts with, "Did you hear?" and ends with, "Well, I guess we'll never really know." Months pass after the dead suspect gets a name. The frenzy dies down. The documentary moves on to other tragedies. The commenters drift away to fresher mysteries. But in the sheriff's office, in that one corner of one small county, the heart file still sits on the edge of a desk, refusing to slide quietly into history. The deputy stares at the lab letter one more time. Familial indications. Not a direct match, a brush, a hint. The science has marched forward even as the case crawled. He's been reading late at night, alone in the glow of his computer screen. Articles about genetic genealogy, cold cases cracked wide open by distant cousins who spit in a tube and mailed it off for fun. Faces pulled from the shadows because someone, somewhere wanted to know if their great-grandfather was Irish. He prints one of those articles, lays it next to the lab results. The words line up in his mind like they're daring him. Maybe, he thinks, the old clue is waiting for a new trick. He brings it up in the morning meeting, not dramatic, no speech, just a simple, "What if we tried this?" He explains it fast, before doubts can solidify. You take the partial DNA, you run it through public databases, you look for family trees, you build out a web, find relatives, then you work back toward your unknown person. The sheriff looks skeptical. "We barely have money for printer ink," he says. "You think we got the budget to hire some lab in another state to go chasing fourth cousins?" "We don't have to start big," the deputy says. "There are grant programs, state partnerships. Some labs will take one case pro bono if it's high profile enough. We've got a documentary, we've got attention. Might as well use it." Morales nods slowly. "It's worth a shot," he says. "We already have a partial profile. If there's anything there, we might shake it loose." The sheriff sighs, the kind of sigh that comes from years of being responsible for everyone else's hope. "Fine," he says. "Write it up. See who bites. Just don't go promising the family this is a magic bullet." The deputy doesn't. He drives to the Hart house again, hat in hand, sits at the kitchen table with the woman whose life revolves around a chair that's always empty. He tells her about the idea, about databases and distant relatives and the faint possibility of finding a name they haven't seen before. "Have you ever done one of those kits?" he asks gently. "For you? For any of your family?" She shakes her head. "I don't need a website to tell me where I come from," she says. But the edge softens when she looks at him. "If it helps find where she went, though, I'll do whatever you need." He leaves with signatures, consent forms, the weight of her expectation wrapped around a scientific maybe. Weeks later, a box arrives from a lab with a logo that looks slick and modern against the worn wood of the evidence table. Swabs, instructions, barcodes, the deputy handles it like glass. The DNA they're dealing with isn't Emily's. It's the unknown profile from the truck, from that stray touch on fabric, that ghost on the edge of the scene. The lab has prepped it, cleaned it, done everything they can to make old molecules talk. Now they're going to introduce those molecules to a giant digital family reunion. Everything is labeled, sealed, shipped, tracked. Then once again the waiting. This waiting feels different, not like the early days when every ringing phone was a potential lightning strike. This is slow, clinical, almost bureaucratic. Weeks stretch. The deputy checks his email too often. The sheriff pretends not to notice. Morales calls once from another county, another case. Any word? He asks. Not yet. Don't hang too much on it, Morales says. I've seen this work miracles. I've seen it do nothing at all. This case owes us a miracle, the deputy replies, half joking, half prayer. Outside the swirling world of labs and databases, life keeps pressing in. A new coffee shop opens in town, bright lights and reclaimed wood, the kind of place that didn't exist here in 2001. Teens in hoodies sit at high tables, their faces haloed by phone screens. They talk about college applications, streaming shows, the price of gas. And every now and then, one says, you know the story about the girl on the road, right? Because in this town, that story is as standard as the weather. They know it in pieces, some exaggerate. In some versions, there's a second body. In others, there's a note left on the truck seat that was too disturbing for the cops to share. They wrap the bare bones of fact in layers of legend because that's what people do when reality refuses them a clean ending. One afternoon, the deputy is asked to speak at the high school. Criminal justice careers, the flyer says. He stands in front of kids who were toddlers when Emily vanished. He talks about procedure, about evidence, about why TV shows lie about timing and lab results. He doesn't bring up the heart case. He doesn't need to. A hand goes up halfway through, hesitant, then braver. Is it true, a girl asks, that you guys know who did it, but you can't prove it? About that girl from here, the one who disappeared? The room goes quiet. The deputy feels every gaze lock onto him, the whole air in the room tilting toward his answer. He's careful. It's true, he says slowly, that we have people we look at hard. It's also true that knowing and proving are not the same thing. We have a responsibility not to just pick a name because it fits our fear. But don't you want to just say it? Another student presses. Like even if there's no trial, just tell everybody, so we're not scared of every stranger. He thinks of Jarvis, of the man who might have been, of the mother at her kitchen table asking if he believes it was him. He thinks of the article drafts that wanted to use the word suspect and the statement they refused to sign. We want the truth, he says. We don't want a story that feels good but isn't solid. Sometimes the hardest thing is living with not knowing for sure. They look at him like he's given them a test they didn't study for. He understands. He hasn't passed it either. Days later, the email comes. Subject line, heart case, genetic genealogy results. His heart trips. He clicks it open. The language is dense. Charts, clusters, centimorgans, shared segments. But the summary cuts through like a sharp blade. There are matches, not close ones. No parents, siblings, children, but distant relatives, second cousins, third, people in small towns and big cities, people who sent their spit away because they were curious about hair color and jawlines. The lab has built a tree, branches stretching back generations. At the end of one branch, shaded in a darker color on the attached chart, is an area they've labeled in cautious, sterile font, likely ancestral region of unknown contributor. It's not here. It's several states away, a cluster in the upper Midwest, a family name that appears over and over in census records. The report lists it, the deputy reads it. It is not Jarvis. For a moment, the room blurs. The dead suspect collapses like a cardboard cutout in his mind. The deputy feels something that is not exactly relief and not exactly disappointment. It's the sensation of a story rearranging itself under his feet. He prints the report. He calls Morales. He calls the sheriff. They gather again, staring at the tree. So the unknown DNA in the truck, probably not linked to Jarvis, the sheriff says. Not unless he had a secret branch of family he never admitted to, which doesn't fit anything we've seen on him, Morales replies. This looks like somebody else, somebody whose people came from way up here. The deputy taps the name at the top of the cluster. It's a simple common surname, enough variance to make any search a nightmare. Could be a coworker, he says, a hitchhiker, someone who touched her truck a week earlier, or it could be the guy, the one we've never found. You're telling me, the sheriff says slowly, that after all this time, we might have been chasing the wrong man, and the right one has roots 1,000 miles away. I'm telling you, the deputy answers, that the case just opened a new door and slammed another one shut. He has to go back to the Hart House again. He hates that part. The walk up the front path, the knock, the way she appears in the doorway, hope and caution fighting for space in her eyes. He sits at the same table, lays out the new report beside the old lab letter. Old science, new science, old maybe, new maybe. So, she says, frowning, tracing the lines of the tree with one finger, the dead man, the one with the truck, the one everybody's been whispering about. This says he might not be the one. It says his DNA doesn't connect to what we found in her truck, the deputy answers carefully. That doesn't absolutely clear him of everything, but it weakens the case against him. And it suggests someone else touched that fabric, someone we haven't identified yet, someone whose family is from here. He taps the shaded region. Up north. Her eyes fill with a tired, bitter light. So I get to lose the closest thing to an answer I had, she says, in exchange for a stranger with a family tree halfway across the country and no name. He doesn't flinch. He can't. It also means the story's not over, he says quietly. We're not at the end of the line. We have new people to talk to, new places to look. We've sent queries to departments up there, names, matches. It's going to take time. Time, she repeats, like she's tasting poison. You know what I have more of than anything? Time without her. He leaves with the papers still on the table, the family tree lying next to an old church directory and a stack of unpaid bills. A new map with no clear route. The ripples spread again, whispers at the grocery store. He might not have done it after all. I told you they jumped too fast, blaming a dead man. Now they're talking about someone from way up north. What was a guy from there doing here? The theories pivot. Maybe a traveler, maybe a pipeline worker, maybe a salesman. The story adjusts, stretches, wraps itself around a new shadow. Online, the true crime world explodes. For every person who loves the clean bow of a solved case, there are 10 who live for the twist. New DNA twist in Texas 2001 disappearance, one headline blares. Threads pop up dissecting the genealogy report, arguing over centimorgans, drawing imaginary branches. Amateur genealogists get involved, building their own trees based on the limited information released. Pins on maps multiply. And in the middle of that noise, a video appears on a new YouTube channel. Dark background, dramatic font. The title grabs the viewer by the throat. Texas 2001 cold case solved, or is it? The thumbnail shows a photo of Emily on one side, the white cross on Farm to Market 16 on the other, split by a crack like a fault line. The voiceover that begins is smooth, cinematic, heavy with gravity. It lays out the story in tight beats. The truck, the road, the dead suspect, the genealogy twist. It leans into tension, into the mystery, into the idea that the case lives in a space between solved and unsolved, defined as much by what people want to believe as by what the evidence can actually prove. The deputy hears about the video before he sees it. A teenager at the gas station mentions it. A clerk at the diner says some tourists came in asking to sit where the missing girl used to work. The mother's sister calls in tears, saying they made her a show again. They're calling it entertainment. When he finally watches, late at night, alone in his living room, he hears a voice not unlike his own inner narration, except cleaner, colder, less weighed down by real faces and real grief. It's reaching thousands, maybe millions. People in faraway cities stare at his case, his town, that road, like it's a movie. The video ends on a question. It lingers on the cross by the road, a drone shot pulling upward, the landscape flattening into pattern. Maybe one day, the narrator says, we'll see the headline everyone here has been waiting for. Texas 2001 cold case solved. Until then, this story sits in the dark, waiting, watching, unfinished. He turns the TV off. The room goes silent. The phrase hangs there anyway. Unfinished. He gets in his car, drives, no radio, no phone, just the hum of the engine and the memory of the voiceover bleeding into the sound of his own thoughts. The night wraps around the town. Streetlights flicker past like metronome ticks counting down to something he can't name. He hits the highway, then the turnoff. Farm to Market 16 opens in front of him, a ribbon of asphalt under a starless sky. He knows every curve without looking, knows where the ditch drops deeper, where the fence sags, where the dirt shoulder widens just enough for a red Chevy to pull over and vanish from the story. As he approaches mile marker 42, he slows, because he always does. The cross stands there leaning, wrapped in a faded ribbon someone must have tied on months ago. Wild grass brushes its base. In his headlights, for a second, it looks like a tiny figure raising its arms. He pulls onto the shoulder and kills the engine. The sudden quiet is a shock. Crickets, wind. Far away, the low growl of an 18-wheeler passing on a different road. He steps out, gravel crunching under his boots. The air smells like dust and something else. Memory, maybe. He stands by the cross, hands in his pockets, looking out over the same field Morales stared at years ago. The same field that swallowed any trace of Emily's last steps. He thinks about the man with two last names, about the family tree stretching north, about the unknown ancestor, the unknown cousin, the unknown driver, about a headline floating somewhere in the future tense, taunting everyone. Solved. He whispers it once, just to feel it in his mouth. The night doesn't answer. He stays there until the stars sharpen, until the air turns thin and mean, until the quiet pushes him back toward the car. The cross leans behind him in the rear view as he pulls away, shrinking into a white scratch against the dark. A minute later, his phone buzzes in the console, screen lighting up with a missed call notification that wasn't there when he stopped. Out-of-state area code, Midwest, voicemail waiting. He doesn't listen on the road. Habit, training, superstition. Back in his driveway, engine ticking as it cools, he taps the screen and raises the phone to his ear. The message is short, formal, carrying that particular clip tone cops use when they're calling other cops. Deputy, this is Detective Lisa Ward with the County Sheriff's Office up here in Minnesota. Got your inquiry about the DNA genealogy on that Texas case. Think you're going to want to talk. I've been digging into one of the family clusters in your report. Interesting overlap with one of our old files. Not saying it's your guy. Not yet. But there's something here. Call me. Minnesota, Upper Midwest, the shaded region in the report clicks into something less abstract. He stands in his dark kitchen with the phone pressed to his ear, replaying the message once, twice, like he might catch more in the static. Then he hits call back. She picks up on the second ring, no small talk, no preamble. You're working the heart disappearance, she says. Statement, not question. That's right, he says. You said you had overlap. She exhales, a short, tired sound. Yeah. We've had a case up here since '99. Woman disappeared leaving a bowling alley, winter night. Car found on the shoulder of a county road. Doors locked, purse inside, no sign of a struggle, vanished. It's one of ours that never let go, same way yours seems to have its claws in you. He hears paper rustling on her end, the shuffle of an old story being lifted off a shelf. When we sent our unknown profile in for this broader genealogy work, one of the branches the lab flagged overlapped with your file, she continues. Not a direct match. But our unknown and your unknown look like they could sit on neighboring limbs of the same family tree, maybe second cousins, maybe third. Hard to say with the distance. But it puts our ghosts in the same genealogy neighborhood. He feels his pulse in his throat. 2 missing women, 2 abandoned cars, 2 unknown profiles possibly related, he says. Different states, different years, same family soup. Exactly, she says. So I started pulling genealogy records, working backwards from the cousins we could identify. There's a name that keeps popping up on both trees. A surname. It's not rare, but it's not Smith or Johnson either. And there's a branch of that line that had a son who did long-haul trucking from the late 90s into the early 2000s. Midwest to Texas corridor, the kind of routes that cut through small towns like yours, like mine. He steps closer to the kitchen table, fingers tightening around the edge. You have a name on that son? Yeah, she says, I do. She reads it out. It's just a pair of syllables, plain, work-worn, the kind of name that could belong to a guy in a ball cap at any truck stop in America. It hits him harder than Jarvis ever did. Jarvis arrived with menace already baked in. This one arrives clean, blank, waiting to be written on. What do you know about him? The deputy asks. Born here, Ward says. Grew up rough. Juvenile record sealed, but we know there were some fights. Couple of arrests as an adult for bar trouble, nothing that stuck. Got his CDL at 23. Drove for a regional company out of our state, then switched to a southern outfit in 2000. That's when his roots shift. We've got logs placing him through Texas more than once, including the month your girl went missing. The deputy feels his heart rate notch higher. We got a company name? Yeah, they're out of business now. Bought, sold, folded. I'm chasing down their old HR records through a storage company that thinks everything older than 10 years is just dust. But I've seen enough to know he was behind the wheel, headed south, around your October. What about your case? The deputy asks. The bowling alley one, was he nearby then? Her voice tightens. Yeah, he was. His truck was logged within 2 hours of that disappearance, 20 miles away, by a way station. Nothing to prove he ever saw her, nothing to prove he didn't. The deputy pulls a legal pad toward him, writes the name down in block letters, underlines it twice. You ever talk to him? No, she says. He moved out of state in '02. Company reassigned him. Our missing person case stayed local. We looked hard at boyfriends, ex-husbands. Nobody ever flagged him to us. By the time genealogy became a thing we could use, he was just a name on a page in a different county, different state. There's a beat of silence, the kind that hums with planning. So what you're telling me, the deputy says, is that there's a man with a matching family tree, a trucking job that runs him through both our crime scenes, and no one's ever knocked on his door about either missing woman. Not yet, she says, but I'm tired of not yet. I say we change that. They work out the logistics in clipped sentences. She'll send over his last known addresses, employment history, any traffic stops. He'll feed in anything Texas records have on him. They'll see if he's still driving, still alive, still somewhere they can reach. When the call ends, the house feels smaller. The deputy stares at the name on his pad. The dead suspect fades further into the background. This new man steps into the space like a quiet stranger at the edge of a photograph. He pulls the heart file closer. Adds the name to the list of persons of interest with a pen stroke that feels heavier than ink. He doesn't say it out loud, but the thought is there, bright and terrible. If this is him, then those 2 women aren't the only ones. The next days become administrative war. Phone calls, records requests, emails bouncing between states and agencies. Somewhere in a DMV server, a current address blinks back at them. Different state now. South, but not Texas. He's not driving long haul anymore. Local delivery work, smaller routes, shorter jumps. New wife, stepkids. A bungalow in a quiet suburb with a manicured lawn and a mailbox with his name stenciled on it in cheerful vinyl letters. Ward pushes for a joint visit. No point in giving him more than one chance to get his story straight, she says. We show up together, Texas and Minnesota. He sees us both. He hears both stories at the same time. Maybe he slips on which lie he's telling. The sheriff signs off. Morales agrees to ride along. They book flights. The deputy finds himself sitting on a plane, looking down at clouds, thinking about how far a truck can travel in a night if the driver doesn't care about rest stops or speed limits. How many lonely roads look just like Farm to Market 16 if you're behind a windshield long enough? On the ground, the suburb is generic enough to be unsettling. Identical houses, fresh paint, kids' bikes and driveways, the kind of street where people wave and know each other's dogs' names, the kind of street where nobody wants to believe a man with a long-haul past might have ghosts in his rear view. They park a block away. Ward is already there, leaning against an unmarked sedan, file folder in hand. She nods once at the deputy, once at Morales. No ceremony, just business. His wife's home, she says. Car in the drive. He got off his delivery road an hour ago, according to his boss. Should be inside. They walk up the path together. 3 badges. 3 states' worth of unresolved tension. The door opens before they knock. A woman in her 40s stands there, hair pulled back, dish towel in one hand. Confusion flashes into her eyes at the sight of them. Can I help you? She asks. We're looking for... Ward says the name, that plain pair of syllables now loaded enough to tilt the air. Is he home? The wife's gaze skims their badges. Something like worry flickers. He's out back, she says slowly. What's this about? Ward's voice stays smooth. We just need to talk. Routine follow-up on an old matter. He's not under arrest. Not yet, the deputy's mind adds reflexively. They walk through a living room decorated with framed family photos. A wedding picture, kids in Halloween costumes. Nobody here knows that their last name is highlighted on a genealogy chart in 2 different cold case files. Through the sliding door they see him. He's at a grill, tongs in hand, flip, sizzle, smoke. The scene is so ordinary it hurts. He turns at the sound of the door, wipes his hand on a towel, squints against the light. What's going on? He asks his wife. She gestures toward the visitors. They're from the sheriff's office, she says. From 2 sheriff's offices. His gaze jumps from badge to badge. There's a flash of something in his eyes. Calculation, irritation, fear. It's gone in a blink, replaced by a polite, wary mask. Afternoon, Morales says. You mind if we talk somewhere private? The man hesitates, then nods once, leads them to a small patio table. The grill pops behind him, forgotten. Ward flips out a recorder, sets it on the table with a soft click. This is just a conversation, she says. You're not under arrest. You're free to walk away, but we hope you won't. He leans back. I got nothing to hide, he says. His voice carries that flat trucker cadence, road miles baked into the vowels. What's this about? The deputy watches his hands. They're big. Calloused, the kind of hands that know the feel of a steering wheel at 3 a.m. He has to fight the urge to see blood there. We're here about 2 women, Ward says. One from up in my state, one from here in his. She nods at the deputy. Both disappeared years ago. Both left their cars on lonely roads. In both vehicles, there was DNA that doesn't match any known friend or relative. That DNA is related to your family tree. The man's jaw tightens. I don't know what you're talking about, he says. The deputy slides photos across the table. A winter roadside in Minnesota. A Texas shoulder bathed in harsh daylight. Emily's face, the other woman's face, 2 smiles frozen forever. You drove long haul in the late 90s and early 2000s, the deputy says, not a question. Your routes took you through both our jurisdictions. We've got your logs, we've got your way station entries. He shrugs, a little too forced. So, half the country drove those roads. I just hauled freight. I don't know these women. Ward's voice sharpens. You grew up where our genealogy chart lights up, she says. Your extended relatives are in that database. The unknown profile that touched one of these cars sits on that family tree. Your family tree. He shakes his head. You get some spit from a cousin and suddenly I'm the bad guy? No, I'm not doing this. I got a family. I got a job. I don't have to listen to you drag my name through. You ever stop at a bowling alley on County Road 7 in January 99? She cuts in. Bar attached. Wednesday league night. You ever see her? She taps the older photo. He swallows. A tiny movement. I don't remember every bar I stopped at 20 years ago, he snaps. I drove 12-hour days. It's a blur. The deputy leans forward. He lays Emily's photo on top. You ever pull off onto a farm to market road in Texas in October 2001? He asks. Red Chevy on the shoulder, door open, girl alone. You ever see her? The man's eyes flick down, then away. No, he says, but the word comes too fast. Then you don't mind giving us DNA? Ward says, sliding a consent form forward. Quick cheek swab. Clears you, we walk away. We never bother you again. Your name never leaves our notebooks. He stares at the form like it's a snake. I don't have to, he says. My lawyer will tell you I don't have to. You're right, Morales says quietly. You don't, but sitting here, refusing to clear yourself when 2 missing women might be tied to your bloodline, that's a choice, one you'll have to live with in front of your wife, your kids. The wife has edged closer, hovering just inside the sliding door, dish towel clutched like a flag. Her voice trembles. Honey, she says, what's going on? Why are they asking you this? He doesn't look at her. That's what chills the deputy. He keeps his eyes on the paper, on the badge, on anything but her. I didn't do anything, he says. I don't want my DNA in some database. I didn't ask for this. You didn't ask for 2 women to disappear either, Ward says. But here we are. Silence stretches. The grill pops. Somewhere down the street, a dog barks. The man reaches for the pen. His hand hovers over the consent line. For a second, it looks like he's going to sign. Then his jaw hardens. No, he says, pushing the paper back. You want my DNA? You get a warrant. I'm done talking. The door slides open. He steps inside, past his wife, past the life he built on top of whatever he was before. The latch clicks. The 3 of them are left at the patio table, photos scattered, the smell of cooling meat and unresolved anger hanging in the air. Ward kills the recorder, the click loud in the quiet. Well, she says, that felt like something. Yeah, Morales says, gaze still on the door. The question is, was it guilt, fear, or just stubborn? The deputy gathers the photos. Emily's face looks up at him, unchanged. The man's refusal tastes familiar, cold, slippery. He pockets the consent form, blank signature line glaring. That night, back in his hotel room, he stares at the ceiling, replaying every twitch of the man's face, every deflection, every snap denial. He imagines what a judge will say when they ask for a warrant based on genealogy, proximity, attitude. He knows how thin it all sounds when you strip the emotion away. Next day, they're in front of a skeptical magistrate. They lay out the genealogy chart, the trucking logs, the matching patterns between the 2 cases. The refusal to consent. The law hasn't fully caught up to the science. Debates about privacy swirl in legal journals above their pay grade. The judge listens, reads, then leans back. You want to compel DNA from a man with no criminal record in my jurisdiction, he says slowly, based mostly on a statistical family connection and the fact that he drove a lot of roads at the wrong time in the wrong places. We want to rule him out or rule him in, Ward says. That's all. He raps his pen against the desk, the second stretch, then he shakes his head. Not enough, he says. You get me more. A witness, a statement he made, something concrete. I'm not signing this on a maybe. Outside the courthouse, the air tastes like defeat. Ward shoves the file back into her bag. We nudged the bear, she says bitterly. Now he knows we're looking and we don't have his DNA. Morales lights a cigarette he shouldn't have, exhales slowly. Maybe that's its own kind of pressure, he says. Men with secrets don't like walls closing in. He might slip, he might talk, he might run. The deputy looks up at the slate-gray sky. Somewhere back in Texas, the cross by the road is leaning in the sun. Somewhere in Minnesota, a bowling alley's neon sign still flickers on winter nights. Somewhere behind a suburban door, a man with road dust in his bones is telling his wife what he thinks she needs to hear. The phrase that started this whole chain of motion curls at the edges of his mind again. Texas 2001, cold case solved. Every time he thinks it, reality tugs it back. Texas 2001 cold case circling. Texas 2001 cold case cornered. Texas 2001 cold case. Still watching, still waiting, still playing out far from the gravel shoulder where a red Chevy once idled with its door open under a West Texas sky. The flight home feels longer. The clouds look heavier. The deputy stares at the seat back in front of him, replaying the magistrate's shake of the head, the suspect's hand hovering over the pen, the wife's face pressed to the glass like someone watching a storm roll in too fast to outrun. No warrant, no DNA, no confession, just a new name added to the long list of people who might know something and aren't saying it. Back in Texas, the sky is the same pale, washed-out blue it always is on days that feel like nothing and everything at once. The sheriff meets him in the squad room, listens in silence as he lays it all out, the genealogy link, the long-haul routes, the refusal, the judge. So now we got 2 maybe men, the sheriff says finally. 1 dead, 1 hiding behind his rights, and no closer to a charge on either. The deputy nods. But this one's breathing, he says. Breathing people make mistakes. Morales, on the phone from another county, is blunter. We rattled him, he says. That alone has value. Men like that start looking over their shoulders. Sometimes they rattle the wrong way. The deputy knows what he means. Panic, missteps, drunken confessions, late-night arguments that get too loud for the neighbors to ignore. It's not strategy so much as hope dressed as prediction. Business as usual creeps back in. Burglaries, domestic calls, noise complaints. The heart file sits on the deputy's desk like a weight plate, everything else sliding up against it and bouncing harmlessly off. He starts coming in earlier, staying later, chasing down every thread on their new man. Old friends, old roots, old habits. He talks to other drivers who worked for the same company back in 2001. The stories line up in unpleasant ways. The man liked back roads. He liked shortcuts that shaved miles but added emptiness. He liked stopping at low-lit places where security cameras were old and staff were too tired to remember every face. One driver remembers something more. He bragged once, the man says over the phone, the sound of truck engines roaring faint in the background. Said the best thing about driving at night was you could pull over anywhere and nobody asked why. Said the dark was like a cloak. I figured he was just talking big. You know how some guys are, always trying to sound tougher than they are. But I remember it now, and it don't sit right. The deputy writes it down anyway, even though hearsay on top of swagger wouldn't get them a parking ticket, let alone a warrant. He files it under pattern in his mind, next to the Minnesota timeline, next to the genealogy tree, next to the refusal. Up north, Detective Ward is doing the same dance with different scenery. She's back at the bowling alley, standing under the same dim neon, talking to staff who've changed 3 times since '99. The bartender who remembers that winter in too much detail has moved away, but there's an older regular who still comes in, beer in hand, memories sharp. I remember a trucker, he says. Big guy, sat at the end of the bar, didn't talk much, watched the lanes like they were a movie. Left without paying once, we had to chase him to the parking lot. He laughed. Thought it was funny. I can't swear it's your guy. But when you said the name, something clicked. She shows him a photo pulled from a DMV file. The man nods slowly, a shiver of recognition running through his face. Yeah, he says, that's him, or his brother, or his ghost. She adds it to her report, another tiny piece, another almost. Meanwhile, the internet keeps chewing. The YouTube video about the case spawns more. Reaction videos. Top 10 chilling unsolved cases listicles, podcasts with ominous music and titles like The Road, The Truck, and The Girls Who Never Came Home. They treat the suspect like a character. The trucker becomes a label, a shorthand, anonymous, larger than life. People make theories about his routes using Google Maps, dropping pins on highways and rest stops like they're solving a game and not tracing the possible path of a real man hauling freight past real lives. Somebody leaks his name. It doesn't come from the sheriff's office, it doesn't come from Ward, it comes from the cracks along the edges, a cousin who talks too much, a local blogger who connects dots in public records and decides the public has a right to know. One morning, the deputy opens his laptop to find the name sprawled across a true crime forum headline, surrounded by question marks and a thin layer of plausible deniability. Is this the man behind the Texas-Minnesota disappearances? The thread asks before proceeding to treat the question like a statement of fact. The sheriff is furious. We didn't confirm him as a suspect, he says, more to the walls than to anyone in particular. Now he's trial by comment section. Legal advisors tell them to stay quiet. No confirmation, no denial. Anything they say can and will be used against them if the man ever decides to sue, or if they ever do get enough evidence to move on him. Silence is safer. Silence feels like complicity. Hundreds of miles away, inside that tidy suburban house, a man sits at a kitchen table while his wife holds her phone with shaking hands, staring at a thread filled with strangers dissecting her husband's face. They're saying you did something to those women, she whispers. They're saying... They're liars, he snaps. People on the internet will say anything. They're messed up. You know me. She looks at him, really looks at him, maybe for the first time without the blurring filters of love and routine. She sees the lines on his face, the way his jaw tightens, the way his eyes slide just a fraction to the side when she says, those women. She remembers the day the cops came to the backyard, the refusal, the way he didn't look at her. You can make it stop, she says, voice thin. If you didn't do anything, you can give them what they want, a cheek swab, a piece of cotton, that's all it takes, right? Then they go away. He slams his fist on the table. The phone jumps. I am not letting them put me in some damn database and treat me like a criminal, he says. I didn't do it. I don't owe them anything. She flinches. Maybe it's the first time he's raised his voice that way. Maybe it isn't. Either way, something shifts. Doubt is a quiet thing until it finds a crack. Back in Texas, the deputy gets an email from Ward. Short, no punctuation, all adrenaline. He knows. He already figured as much. The leak guarantees it. The man will be watching carefully now, checking his mirrors, adjusting his story where he thinks it's needed, but being under that kind of pressure does its own work. A week later, a tip lands in the Texas inbox from a state in between, a truck stop waitress, different decade, same tired eyes. She says she recognized the man's face from an online article. She says he used to stop in late, always alone, always sitting where he could see the door and the parking lot at the same time. He tipped well, but only if his order was perfect. If anything was off even a little, his temper sparked. One night, she writes, I brought him his coffee and he said, you don't know what it's like out there. The dark covers everything. People think they're safe. They ain't. I laughed it off. Figured he was just venting. Now I'm not so sure. They follow up, call her, get the fuller story. It doesn't give them a crime. It gives them a mood, a pattern, a man who uses darkness like a coworker, not an enemy. The deputy adds it to the pile. He feels like he's drowning in fragments. Every piece points in the same direction, but the law doesn't let you build a case out of vibes, YouTube threads, and the collective shiver of everyone who's ever found themselves alone with a man who smiles without his eyes. The Minnesota case starts seeing fresh attention too. Ward gets asked the same questions he does. Do you think it was him? Are we finally close? Is this the break? She gives the same answer he does, the only answer she's allowed. We have a person of interest who fits several patterns, she says. We are still actively investigating. We need evidence. Evidence, physical, concrete, unambiguous, something that can stand in front of a jury and not stutter. For a moment, it looks like they might get a sliver of that. A retired trooper up north hears about the new angle on the case and calls Ward. He remembers a truck inspection from 2001, late night, parking lot off the interstate, a man with the same name, the same face, the same flat stare, hauling an empty trailer southbound. I wrote him up for a busted tail light, the trooper says. He was jumpy, too talkative, kept saying he was just trying to make good time, just trying to do his job. I thought maybe he was tired, maybe high, but when I ran him, he came back clean, so I gave him the ticket and let him go. You think that was around when... His voice trails off. The date on the citation sits in Ward's file like a live coal. It's days before their missing woman vanished, weeks before Emily's truck appeared by the roadside with its door hanging open. She sends a copy to Texas. The deputy reads it 3 times, thumb pressed so hard against the paper it leaves a crease. It's something, it's not enough. He pushes again for another shot at DNA. This time, the legal argument leans heavier on the parallel cases. 2 missing persons, 2 jurisdictions. One man whose truck keeps showing up in the wrong place at the wrong time, whose family tree sits under their unknown profile like an unclaimed coat. The answer comes back the same. Too thin, too reliant on inference. No direct witness, no physical transfer, no confession. The law bends slowly. It rarely bends for haunted men staring at 20-year-old ghosts. The deputy is not the only one losing patience. At the Hart House, the TV glows with another episode of another crime show that uses Emily's picture in a montage of unsolved American nightmares. Her mother watches until Emily's face appears, then flips the channel. The remote clacks onto the coffee table. The room returns to its familiar quiet buzz. Her sister shows up with a stack of printed comments from an online support group for families of missing persons, stories from people who've been living in this same limbo for decades. One woman's boy vanished in '85, the sister says. They thought they had the guy 3 times. Every time it didn't pan out. She says the worst part isn't the not knowing, it's the almost knowing, the whiplash of hope over and over. The mother listens, fingers drifting over the rim of her cup. I used to pray for them to solve it, she says. Now I don't know what to ask for. Every answer they give me seems to come with a footnote. Maybe, probably, could have. I don't want another maybe. I want peace. The sister doesn't say what she's thinking. That peace might never come wrapped in certainty. That there may be no world where she gets to see handcuffs in a courtroom and a headline that ends in period instead of question mark. In town, teenagers pass around the videos and the articles on their phones. The story has shifted from local pain to urban legend to streaming season content and back again. They're gonna catch him, one says in the parking lot outside the high school. You can't hide from science forever. Another shakes his head. He's just gonna die of old age and everybody'll decide he did it because it's easier. On a bench outside the sheriff's office, the deputy sits with a styrofoam cup of coffee gone lukewarm, watching cars slide past on Main Street. Normal people, normal lives. A mail truck, a pickup with a ladder strapped to the top, a long-haul rig turning onto the highway, its trailer humming as it builds speed. He thinks of the suspect's driveway, the grill, the wife's eyes, the name on the mailbox. He thinks of Jarvis' numbered marker in the potter's field. He thinks of all the men whose paths touched the Hart case, who brushed against it and kept going, leaving behind a smear of DNA, a memory, a rumor. He knows cases like this sometimes end with a late-night phone call, a bar fight, a drunken boast, a girlfriend who's had enough and walks into a precinct with a story nobody wants to believe at first. He knows sometimes they end with a contractor tearing down an old shed and finding bones under the floor. He knows sometimes they don't end at all. That night, in a house 2 states away, the suspect sits alone in his garage with the radio low and a beer sweating in his hand. The door is closed. The space smells like oil and rubber and old miles. On a shelf in the corner sits a cardboard box he hasn't opened in years. Logbooks, photos from the road, receipts from places that don't exist anymore. He stares at it. Somewhere in that house, his wife is awake, phone screen glowing under the covers as she scrolls through articles she never asked to read. The comments crackle, some defend him. Most don't. They talk about him like a monster in a campfire story. They say if he was innocent, he'd have given his DNA. They say his refusal is an admission. They say things she doesn't want to think, in words she can't unread. She remembers the way he used to come home from the road back then, silent, wired, taking long showers that left the water scalding hot and the bathroom door locked. She remembers asking once, "Hard night?" and getting a look back that shut the question down for good. In Texas, under the broad, indifferent sky, the cross by Farm to Market 16 leans another fraction of an inch. The wood is weathered now, the paint flaking. Someone ties on a fresh ribbon in passing, a quick twist of their wrist, a quiet nod toward the empty road before they get back in their car and drive away. Headlights sweep the gravel shoulder, then disappear. The night closes around the white slash of wood and the memory of a red Chevy that once sat there, engine off, door open, key still in the ignition, waiting for a story to finish itself. It never did. Not yet. And even as new names are added to the list and old suspects fall away, the headline that refuses to exist hangs over everything like a prophecy that got stuck halfway between ink and air. Texas 2001, cold case solved. 4 words that still don't belong to anyone. 4 words that haunt a town, a family, a deputy, a detective, and a man in a quiet suburb who cannot sleep when the trucks on the highway howl past in sound for just a second, like sirens.